What's going on, everybody? Welcome to tonight's broadcast of the Aegis Champions League. We've got our first round of the lower quarterfinals, where it's going to be an elimination best of five between Mirage Alliance and Ole Miss Esports. My name's Gordo. I'm going to be joined by TDS in just a short bit. He's running a little bit late today, so we are going to just have me in here as we intro the teams and get ready for Champion Select. Let's start off on the blue side tonight with Mirage Alliance. You can bring on up the roster here. These guys have been in the lower bracket since the very beginning, getting knocked down in the very first round. Now are looking to come on back in through this lower bracket, and so far have been able to take on all comers along their way up there. They lost a original 0-2 series up against Keep Pathing Bot, but since then have been able to take a 2-1 over CCG Futures, a 2-1 over Cincinnati Fear, and a 2-0 over Lotus Exiles to be able to make it to this stage up against Ole Miss. Roster, if we can bring it on up here in just a moment. There we go. It's going to be Alorum, Chad Jungle, Sudsy, Neo, and Dardoch from top to bottom. So it's the same squad that they've kept together throughout the entire summer split. They qualified to the North American Champions League, or Challengers League rather, with this roster, and are now continuing to run it back. They are also our reigning ACL champions. You know, it's looked like they were down and out for quite a few moments throughout this playoffs run, and now are going to be looking see if they can take it even further and make themselves a run to defend their title. Doing a fantastic job of it so far. We'll have to find out if they're going to be able to keep it up against their competition tonight, which is going to be Ole Miss Esports, coming in as the fourth seed of that very same group roster. It's going to be Kooky Krook in the top lane now, Icelandic Hero, Uncle Sam, Shogo, and Rhino from top to bottom. And these guys have been on quite a tear of their own since making it to playoffs. They came in as the fourth seed, so getting counted out early on. But it turns out Piltover is a hell of a competitive group, and they have been running through the winners bracket the whole way through. A 2-1 win over Gentle Hearts, a 2-0 win over Mirage Alliance Developmental, and then finally dropping to Team Fish Taco just last week to put them into this elimination matchup up against Mirage. These guys did meet in the regular season, having come in from the same group. It was a 2-1 win for Mirage Alliance off the back of that one. Now, a lot's changed since then. Ole Miss have got their new top laner in the form of Kooky Krook. Mirage Alliance have really seemed to have found themselves again after a rocky start to playoffs. We cast both the CCG Futures Series and the Cincinnati Fear Series, and in both of them, it was a really shaky game number one. It was a pretty shaky game number two as well, and they've been able to reverse sweep both of those BO3s. But then the second that we stop watching, and that this occurs on their own stream rather than ours, it was a clean 2-0 for them over Lotus Exiles. Some very, very dominant showings there for the two of them. And now going to be coming on up against an Ole Miss roster that's absolutely been on a tear despite their lower seeding coming on in. So we're going to be getting into into draft before too long here, but two super exciting teams we're going to come back on over and get really pumped up about who tonight's victor is going to end up being. This is the first best of five of the Aegis Champions League, and has really been a long time coming. I'm going to be honest. I'm kind of sick of best of threes after having been casting upper and lower BO3s back and forth, the BO3s throughout the whole season. Getting to see the full range of what these teams can accomplish going to be exciting, and hoping that we get to a 4 or 5 game banger over the course of the night. It definitely seems like these teams have what it takes to get us there. It was a 3-game best of 3 between the two of them the last time that they met. Now are going to be looking to see how they are going to be able to perform coming into these best of fives. I'm especially going to be paying attention to the top lane here. I think Alorum has had a really fantastic playoffs run so far. Has really impressed me, and I think he's been getting better week on week. I mean, his Poppy performance up against Cincinnati Fear was crucial in their Game 3 win, and then up against Lotus Exiles, again, we didn't get to see the match, but I know he busted out the old Urgot in that matchup and was able to have a big carry performance there. That's always exciting to see him getting to play some of those more off-the-wall picks, some of the more flexible options. has also been a big fan of the Cho'Gath, has also been playing that Maokai, being willing to flex it from jungle up the top lane, which not too many players in ACL so far have been willing to do. And then paying close attention towards the bot lane as well for Neo and Dardoch on the side of Mirage Alliance. I think these two have been an incredibly powerful duo, and they're facing off against one of the best bot lane duos here in the ACL in Shogo and Rhino. I think Shogo, everybody has got to stop doubting at this point in time, as he has just consistently exceeded my expectations. Every time I want to say that, oh, you know, he's only in collegiate, it's not the same as tier 2, yada, yada, yada. He just proves me wrong time and time again, has been drawing an absolutely bananas amount of bans for people facing off against Ole Miss. He's even been dipping in outside of the traditional AD carry pool. He's playing some Yasuos, some Yones. This team busted out a Yone plus Yasuo composition up against Team Fish Taco last week. Didn't exactly end up working out the way they would have wanted, but the fact that they're even willing to go for stuff like that means that you really have to give them that respect in the draft. And Cookie Crook, since joining the squad, seems to have slotted in quite nicely. Has just been playing pretty standard top laners across the board, going for a lot of Renekton's, getting an occasional Jax or a Fiora or an Orloff game in there, and has really given them that extra layer in the draft. I do believe Mirage Alliance chose to waive the ban penalty for his E-sub status, so will be the full-on 5 bans apiece coming on into this draft. So we're going to be looking to see what they're going to be going for in this game at number 1. Having already kicked off the draft, it looks like it's a Poppy ban and an Ashe ban coming in from Ole Miss, that favorite of Alorum, going to be a big target for Ole Miss, looking to pinch that pool wherever they can and make sure that his absolutely most comfortable options aren't going to be available. You know, he's been pretty forthcoming with us. We've had a couple of interviews with Alorum on this stream where he's come on and just said, hey, you know, my champion pool is what it is. A little bit more tank focused, a little bit more weak side oriented, and that causes him to struggle up against some of these really aggressive top laners like Dragoon and Quacker. And I think Cookie Crook falls in that territory too, where they're willing to just slam the Olaf, try to play really aggressive, get something like the Darius in there as well. And I think if he's willing to play that kind of style, you know, Mirage has been very open about the fact that that's, I think, where they struggle a little bit more. Curious to see if that's going to be the approach for Ole Miss coming into this game, number 1. So we do end up with the AD carry ban and the support ban coming on through in the form of the Ashe and the Jinx. Those have been favorites of Neo and Dardoch throughout the tournament. And Ole Miss going to first pick the Nico for Uncle Sam in the mid lane, assuming that they're not trying to flex it around to too many other locations. I think that makes a lot of sense for them. It's been a very powerful team fighting mid laner that plenty of mids in this league have chosen to focus a lot of their time and effort towards. Those Callista, Senna bans coming in from Mirage, again, going to try to pinch away some of the fancier bot lane pairings that we've seen out of Ole Miss. Again, Shogo going for stuff like the Yone and the Yasuo alongside that Senna when he gets the chance to do it. Mirage don't want any part of that. They're going to keep that off the board at any opportunity they can, as well as that Orianna ban to keep things away from Uncle Sam. Instead, going to be locking in the Jarvan for Chad. Been a favorite for him all season long. He loves to be on those hard farming junglers, the stuff like the Kindred and the Graves, but he can play your baseline meta picks as well, and the Jarvan's still absolutely in that category. This has been the most banned pick up against Chad throughout the season. He's going to be happy to get his hands on that one in this game, number 1. As Varus now going to be the bot lane lock-in as well for Neo. Really flexible, really talented on that pick as well. I think he's been one of the top performers for Mirage this tournament and throughout their entire existence with this roster, frankly. Now going to be on one of those most powerful picks. I have to keep saying it in case people have lost track. This was a big pick at Worlds later on, and the champion is stronger now than it was at Worlds. It's been buffed in patches since, hasn't really been nerfed back down, so definitely keep your eye on the man in the bottom lane there. The Jax blind pick going to come on through, so they are going to try to play a little bit more of a split push focus style for Cookie Crook, and then they're going to get the Wukong as well for Icelandic Hero. This is a composition that they've been utilizing pretty often. They've taken the Wukong alongside that Nico for some of the more AoE team fighty approach, but then also going to have that split pushing top laner to give them another angle to play through Is the Syndra going to be the lock-in for Sudsy in the mid lane? Feels like he's going to be comfortable taking that matchup into the Nico, and instead they can let Alorum get his pool pinched a little bit. I think it's a big opportunity for Ole Miss to try to ban away some of those best top lane selections into the Jax. They could take away, I mean, they've already taken away the Poppy. You can focus on towards some of the tanks that he's been more comfortable with as well. He's been playing some Ornn when he can get his hands on it. The Renekton, always very safe into most matchups. Instead, it does look like Dardoch's going to be taking a couple of bans here. The Renata going to be removed from the table. The Xayah going to get taken away by Mirage as they look to focus on towards Shogo even further at any opportunity that they get. Going to be looking to see if they're going to stick to those bot lane bans or if we might see something else coming out there. I mean, definitely going to be bot lane bans for Mirage as they see everything else locked in here for Ole Miss, but will they want to take away something from Alorum? That's going to be the question. The Aphelios going to join the list of picks that Shogo can't get his hands on into this Varus. That's going to be Ashe and Jinx and Senna and Kalista and Aphelios and Xayah, all no longer available. He's going to be digging pretty deep down the tier list for whatever he ends up piloting in game number 1. Now, what will the other support coming on through be, or will it be a top lane ban? I mean, I still would not blame them. They try to pinch on towards Alorum's pool a little bit here. Instead, it's going to be the Karma. They want to deny range supports away from Dardoch. He has been a big fan of the Bard pretty much all tournament long. We've seen, I mean, throughout most of the regular season and even coming through the first 3 rounds of playoffs, he was a jack of all trades. He would play every single champion. He hadn't locked in a single champion more than twice for the longest time throughout the ACL. And the one that he's found that he is willing to lock in game and game out has been that Bard. He's been playing it every chance he gets. That's a Maokai lock-in. It could be for support, could also be for top lane for Alorum. That's where they've put it most of the time. So knowing how they like to utilize Alorum in that top lane, where they like to give themselves a little bit of room to play with, will definitely be more likely, I think, for him to be weak-siding that up there. And instead, they're going to look to path towards bot and guarantee that they get the support counter pick for Mirage, as Ole Miss have got to lock in their bot lane here. There's going to be the Melio Sivir. So going for some hard scaling there and a little bit of additional range for those boomerang blades. Now looking on in towards what the pick will be at support. Mirage, knowing what they're up against now, will they try to play a little bit more aggressively into the Melio? I would think that makes a lot of sense here, but still plenty left to be determined. We're going to have to wait and see if that's going to be the support coming on through. And it's going to be the Janna. This is going to be the second Janna game we've seen out of Dardoch over the course of the last couple of weeks. I mean, it was a Jinx Janna lane that they played up against Lotus Exiles. It was 2 really one-sided games up against Lotus for Mirage there. So I'm not surprised at all that they're willing to go back to it. I do wonder if it's going to be quite as aggressive as you traditionally want to the Melio, or if they're just going to be looking to scale up a little bit and say, hey, you can play your on-hit Varus. You can be a really valuable team fighting tool. And we've already got a scaling mid lane option in the form of the Syndra. We can look to just play this through more traditional team fighting methods and take on Ole Miss, even though they've got stuff like this Wukong and this Nico and this Sivir that are going to be a lot more powerful in the team fighting stage. Getting word that we're going to have TDS coming on in here before too long, so you'll get to stop hearing my voice consistently for at least a couple of minutes. So we're going to fire on up the in-client draft and start getting into that spec delay. But I think this is a really classic draft, at least from the Mirage Alliance side. We've gotten to see so much of this team on the stream over the course of the last couple of weeks, and these have been some of the picks that they've really been focusing on. They like to get Sudsy on towards the Syndra if he knows that he's going to be up into some of those control mages. He's been playing the Nico a lot himself, so a little bit of a denial pick coming through from Ole Miss as well, knowing that that would have been selected almost certainly by Sudsy had they let it get through, especially paired up with something powerful like the Jarvan. And there's TDS. TDS, you missed some draft, my guy, but it's here. We're already through. We've gotten everything selected already.
It took me a while, but I'm glad I'm finally here. Also, just a recommendation to people, never go out when there's a huge amount of people going out of work because it's going to take quite a while. Yeah, I'm never doing that again. That was way too long. But looking quickly at the drafts and just trying to see how everything kind of panned out, especially considering how the matchup should go in general, I think it's pretty important to notice two particular things. From the side of MA, it's the consistency that they play top tanks for Alarim, right? The fact that they have Alarim on a tank that can peel really effectively for the carries, I think it's one of the main conditions that MA plays around consistently, and it's something we saw last week, and it's something that we're going to see in this matchup and maybe in the continuation of the whole match. And then looking immediately on the other side, one of the main things that I feel like characterize Ole Miss quite a bit, playing around their bot lane, having a hyper carry for Shogo, and trying to find ways to protect him as much as possible, even if that doesn't mean denying the rest of the map, because you see that they have really huge ways to engage with their jungler and their mid laner, but they do have a safe bot laner that can hyper carry the game, and I think that also goes into how they like to play the game as much as possible.
Yeah, so going to be, I think that's definitely true with how they want to play the game, and it's interesting to me I want to talk about the Allura of Maokai pick just a little bit more, just because it's kind of strange that like every time we see them first pick Maokai and end up flexing at the top, it feels like it's the flex pick, right? That's what makes it so strong, is that you think it's going to jungle and then they get to decide to put themselves in a better jungle matchup and tank whatever they have to in top. Here, Allura just takes the Maokai. I mean, the only top laner that's been banned is the Poppy, and he still just goes, no, give me Maokai. I don't want Ornn. I don't want Malphite into what is almost certainly going to be triple AD. Exactly. He wants the Maokai. It's the pick of choice into the Jax. So I'm really curious to see if that's going to end up working out for him.
Exactly, and it's maybe one of those characteristics that only work with Alarim, or maybe more so with Alarim, because he was part of, or at the very least being part of the old guard, he was part of the meta where Maokai was a top laner originally, right? He does know how this champion is supposed to be played when he was a top laner. So I feel like that also gives him an extra advantage over other players that are up and coming, maybe didn't get the chance to experience that sort of meta because they never played the top lane Maokai, and I do think that experience provides a lot of value for Alarim in that regard. In the same vein that I do think people undervalue the power of Maokai in the top lane. I do think that jungle-wise he's probably much better than top lane, but top lane is not a bad position for the Maokai, especially as long as you understand that you don't need to win lane, you just need to survive. You get the value of the ultimate anyway, you get the MIPS anyway, and you can itemize according to not only the top lane matchup, but a lot of the rest of the map, because you do get access to really good tank items as well as just solo gold, because you get the minion waves as well in the top lane. So I feel like people undervalue how much you can get away with in the top lane Maokai, and unless you're going in a really disadvantageous matchup up there in the top lane, it shouldn't be that bothersome for the Maokai in reality.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Here's last call to get your predictions in with channel points, by the way. Those are ticking on down at the same moment that I'm speaking into the Twitch chat. You got yourself maybe 30 more seconds-ish to make some of those predictions here. We do have a full best of 5 on the docket here tonight, so going to be plenty more drafts to check on out. And yeah, I mean, it really does feel like Ole Miss are kind of putting everything into the bot lane once again. I mean, you've got the side laning of Cookie Creek to potentially fall back on, but I really do think it's all about Shogo, and a lot of their drafts do end up being all about Shogo. They definitely want to make sure that this Sivir is going to have a powerful front line and lots of different tools to peel back for her, and that he's going to be able to just keep on throwing out these boomerangs. Just the question is, can you get that far? Can you scale that long, especially when you're up against an aggressive laner like this Varus and could potentially be getting focused in by the Jarvan and stuff like that?
And especially in another situation where it's not in a double range bot lane against just the Varus, right? It's range and range against range and range. That means that your innate advantage just by having double range kind of gets negated in that situation. Now you have to go against a Varus that also has a pseudo lane dominant support in the form of the Yana, which can be much more bothersome than the Milio, and also give them much more movement speed for gank situations or for trying to set up for picks. And I think that is also something of value that the side of MA can try and take advantage of. And I feel like, especially looking at how the draft ended up developing, right? The fact that they focused so heavily on banning away so many AD carries means that if the Sivir doesn't work out, which champion are you beginning to prioritize from now on, right? Is the Varus becoming the main AD carry of the matchup if the Sivir doesn't work out? If you ban away the Varus and the Sivir is still available but you cannot play with it, do you still pick it, or do you begin going into the pool a bit deeper into it, going into the Banes, into the Caitlyn's, into maybe someone brings out the Twitch, even though I don't think that that's going to happen? Could end up being something to consider. So I'm more interested in seeing how the bot lane meta develops in the continuation of the series, just because of how much attention there is down there in the bot lane.
Yeah, I completely agree here, and it's interesting that the Sivir is the selection that ends up coming through, right? Because as pinched as the AD carry pool is, there were still other options available. We've seen folks kind of go over towards stuff like the Ezreal, the Caitlyn. One that really stands out to me when I saw Emilio, my first thought was Caitlyn, as that's been such a big pick for Ole Miss throughout the season. Like, they've locked it in only once, but it's been banned against them 10 times. Like, so many teams are so unwilling to have to deal with Shogo and Rhino playing one of those more aggressive bottom lanes, dueled up with the Caitlyn there, but they just decide not to go for it. That's Hail of Blades Janna, so that's an interesting one to check out.
I apparently see it's become more and more meta the longer the split has gone. So I'm actually kind of interested in seeing how it's going to develop. But this apparently just outright destroys any laners in the opposing side, because you just get to consistently out attack. You start with the W if I'm not wrong. So you get the initial poke plus your 3 out attacks. So your trade not only generates quite a ton of gold, but also just sets you up for success really effectively. And from level 1 onwards, it's really difficult to actually deny it in a really effective manner, actually.
Yeah, and it looks like we're about to be ready to get out of the Rift. I do want to shout out Coachify here. Coachify is a commission-free esports coaching platform currently in open beta. You can become a coach today. You can track your students, inspire them, succeed, and to turn your passion for gaming into a career. You can check out the panel located below the stream for more information. Thanks again to Coachify for sponsoring the ACL, which is getting into its lower quarterfinal best of 5, starting right now. Ole Miss taking on Mirage Alliance. Let's get on to Summoner's Rift. All right, never mind. It's paused. We got ourselves a little bit of time.
Talk about convenient. First, I get
timed
late.
It so well, man. We loaded in. I started the read. Nah, it's all right. We got a little bit more time to talk about the team compositions. A little bit more time, maybe to discuss that Halo Blades Janna. I missed what Varus went for. Was it something like Arcane Comet, or is it just the traditional lethal tempo? It was lethal.
Okay, so it is lethal. I haven't actually been up to date with different Varus builds, so I feel like it's going to be the same usual Blade of the Ranking into the Rage Blade start, but it could be a really interesting idea. Apparently there's variations to the Varus build, as always, so there could be some options that maybe they are opting into. But talking about the Janna specifically, and I think it comes a lot with how the draft ended up going, importantly with the Sivir pick, and then the Jarvan pick I think also applies to this situation. The Jarvan and the Maokai pick, by the way, that applies to this situation, and it's champions that are really easy to get on top of the Caitlyn, of the Sivir, I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're ready to get onto the Rift for game at number 1. Ole Miss taking on Mirage Alliance. Blue side Ole Miss, red side Mirage. First match of the best of 5. Kick it off right now.
And it doesn't look like there's going to be any sort of weird level 1s. They're just going to go for the typical staring contest, and that's about it. What I wanted to touch on really quickly before we see maybe some action onto anyone or something like that, although wait, Alariam, yeah, it's not going to turn into much. It's the fact that they picked Sivir after the Jarvan and the Maokai went in. And I think this goes back to the point you were making with the Caitlyn. Yes, the Milio can work out really well with the Caitlyn, but I think that Caitlyn is going to be a much easier to kill target if you have Maokai Jarvan on the other side. And I think that was the thought process for picking the Sivir. Because at the very least with the spell shield, you can deny one of them.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. So it is checking on a little bit of Arcane Comet procs coming on through there from Uncle Sam, but otherwise not too much to be found in the poke department, not too much gold gained for either of the supports, and no real wards thrown down on either side either. There's the defensive one from Ole Miss coming into the bottom Tribrush, but other than that, we're not seeing too much.
Yeah, nothing much in terms of how you want to play around the base. And there's a couple of pings going down the bot side, trying to maybe think if they can try and go for the steal. Would be quite nice to see from Icelandic here if he can try and go for the blue buff steal from the Jarvan. But it looks like maybe they can try and set up early on for a bot lane attempt, especially if the push comes through, which is something we were kind of expecting. It certainly can set up for an early gank down there.
Yeah, and Cookie Krug advancing up in this top lane, going to be able to find a nice little early trade into Alorum here, but that's going to be first level 2 hit by Sudsy as he finds a trade in towards Uncle Sam. Junglers starting on opposite sides here might end up influencing opposite lanes, so Chad going to be making his way towards that bottom side as we expect, but we'll have to see where Icelandic Hero ends up.
Yeah, already we see quite a bit of trading, but Shogo playing really nice around the spell shield. That being said, you cannot throw it preemptively or you cannot throw it haphazardly just because there is a lot of good ways to try and take it away, and then you can end up missing out on the most important abilities if you're not careful enough. But pretty okay start for both sides, nothing out of the ordinary just yet. I would love to see if Chad is willing to go for a dive really early on, because with the push that you can get with both Barris and Yana, especially with how they are kind of stacking up this wave, maybe they do want to try and force an early dive down there.
They very well might. Shogo stepping up, going to be using those spell shields as often as they're up and getting back a fair HP bit from it. There's going to still be holding out pretty nicely. Control of the wave is established for Neo and Dardoch. They're going to be the first ones to hit level 3, but doesn't look like Shogo is trying to push for too much more. Will be at the very least keeping his health bar up, and will be able to secure himself most of this wave as it crashes on in.
Yeah, and I think that is part of the why it becomes difficult to try and force a dive. It's that Shogo played it really nice where he didn't force any big trades and ended up having quite a big amount or a huge amount of health when considering where the Jarvan could be. As we see maybe the Jarvan trying to pilot around the bot side, but he's not going to get anything out of him. Needs to be careful. Ooh.
Yeah, that was a rough one.
I will give him the benefit of the doubt. He was waiting until the very end to try and get the surprise stun so that Alorum doesn't react and flash. I think that's the idea there.
I think that's likely the case as well, but yeah, just shorts it a tiny bit, and that means that Alarm gonna have the flash advantage. Meanwhile, Sudsy thinks he has a good fight up against Uncle Sam here, who's gonna be taken very low. Chad waiting around on the other side, flashed over the wall, and first blood picked up to Chad.
Really well executed, playing around with Chad really well, and it also comes from Sudsy pushing the issue, right? You have a strong laner like the Syndra, maybe not compared to where she was way before, but at the very least she still can put a lot of damage, and they execute on it really nicely. Gets the first blood in favor of Chad. Obviously you probably would have loved to have it on the Syndra to begin stacking as early as possible, but giving it to Chad is not a bad choice, especially if he can influence more and more lanes. Shogo is taking so much damage here.
Yeah, definitely falling very low. Will be able to hide out underneath the turret and manages to stay alive.
Oh no.
So now moving on in. Here comes Icelandic Hero going for the punish. Going to be the heal from Dardoch to create some distance. Avoids the Ultra Mega Fire Kick.
Rhino?
Now returning damage on towards Rhino. The burst of this Varus cannot be underestimated, and Rhino will fall low. Icelandic Hero going to be the next one on the menu as all 3 members of Ole Miss are pushed back in the bottom lane.
It ends up being 2 summoners blown for the side of MA, which is not a bad trade in general, but that was actually quite scary. The return damage from both the Janna and the Varus ends up mattering quite a bit and almost gets the kill onto either Rhino or Icelandic Hero. But because the gank didn't work out that well, now they're back to square one with a really bad spot, and Ankle Sam is taking so much damage.
Oh, there's the unleashed power and a solo kill to Sudsy. Just disrespect from Icelandic Hero. It's Dardoch brawling with Shogo, but has that hail of blades to be able to actually turn it back around. Very nearly going down to the one-on-one to the support there. Shogo's gonna have to take a recall.
This Janna early on is really scary. You may have some items in your advantage to deal damage, but it doesn't really matter because the Janna just outright wins the trades because of how much attack speed she does get and how much damage she can get in the general trade that you're trying to force there. Really nice by Dardoch, and overall MA is just finding value everywhere in the map. Everywhere you see, they're just finding more. Oh, Cookie Crook.
Ooh, knocked away. Olorum getting
Has the
chased on
flash.
down. Will have to expend the flash there. Cookie Crook, he may have wasted the flash earlier on, but he's going to get one back later, sooner rather than later, up against Olorum. And now going to be equalizing in that department. He's going to have his back up way sooner.
Yeah, it does feel that Cookie Crook is going to keep on winning this matchup as much as possible, and I did like the adaptation of going for the magic resistance boots just because of how much trading power it does give you and trying to force more out of the Maokai. But if he doesn't find a bit more opportunities to find more values, or if he cannot play around the Wukong that has been staying topside for quite a bit, then it's going to be a bit difficult for all Miz to really maximize the value off of this Jax.
It's going to become a lot harder. Sudsy finds another stun. He's got Unleashed Power available. Uncle Sam is in trouble yet again. Meanwhile, Chad finding the knockup in the bottom lane. Shogo going to be forced to flash away as the healing comes through from the cozy campfire. Mirage taking a lot of a trade back here. That additional range going to help out Shogo in returning fire, but taken low on HP once again. Dangerous territory for him here, but thinks that the Melio sustain is going to be enough, and appears to be right.
Yeah, at the very least for now, it's working out really well to not be as scared at the trades, at how they are being forced. But so far, it does feel like MA just has a lot of control over the map, and it particularly stems from the difference in the mid lane. Like, nothing against Uncle Sam, but so far, Sote has been running the mid lane so well, and for a talent that we've been hyping up so much, not only in the ACL, but I feel in general in the NACL ecosystem and all that, he's been performing better and better the longer ACL has gone. I think at this point, really is making an argument, slowly but surely, as the best mid laner possible.
Definitely agree there. The plug-in here on the left does not like Shogo. I'm not sure why. He doesn't have 0 gold. I promise. He's definitely made some money. He has 21.75, so that would put him in the third over only the supports. He is behind, but he's not that behind. Let's not get crazy with it here. It's Chad trying to steal away some jungle camps to the bottom side, but not going to be able to do it. Gets pushed back by Rhino and Shogo as the game plan of denying the Ole Miss bot lane is going beautifully for Mirage. They have a 3-man dive coming in across once again. Are they going to look to punish? Here comes the knockup, pushed back away. Nicely played by Sudsy, as now Shogo is the target. Knockup going to connect. There's the Chains of Corruption, and there's the kill for Neo. Monsoon will keep the health bars high, and Mirage Alliance get their 3rd kill.
If you want to talk about a wait,
Cookie's gonna get a solo kill here if Olorum isn't careful. Nature's Grasp will slow him down, but you can't slow him down for long. Merc treads tenacity, gets Cookie Crook out of the snare and onto the kill.
And that's the advantage of the adaptation. You went for Merc Treads and it works out perfectly well. Cookie Crook being the shining light on the other side of the map. Yes, it's looking difficult on one side, but you have to take whatever you can get, and Cookie Crook is doing just that. But talking about how it happened in the bot side, loved the dive idea. I think it's perfectly fine to execute something like a dive. Could have been even earlier in my opinion, because you are going against a Sivir, so there's not many tools for her to try and stop it from happening. But the way that they execute on it, it's really beautifully done. Perfect cancel there by Dardark as well. And they also didn't use Cataclysm, which means that for the next play, if they really want to force with the Jarvan, they still have that big cooldown to play around and try and force on top of Shogo that has no flash anymore.
This feels really weird coming out of my mouth, but Dardark's Janna looking kind of clean here. He's definitely got some of these mechanics down pat. A nice interrupt off that tornado. The Monsoon play on the dive in bot lane was pretty good as well, knowing the limits of what he could tank. And there's another solo kill chance for Sudsy. Doesn't pop the Unleashed Power, and that is the only reason Uncle Sam's alive.
Yeah, it's because of the slight delay in the invisibility from the Nico. If he's on top of the Nico, probably gets a kill there. But so far, Sudsy, really, even with 2 members, doesn't feel any fear in the mid lane, and that just brings out another solo kill potential. But this is going to keep on happening every time, and that's why the top lane being the only shining light for Ole Miss at this point, it's important that they can try and put a little bit more pressure. And I feel like Icelandic Hero has tried to do that, but they never find like the right angle and opportunity to put pressure onto him, and it doesn't work out as well, the fact that he's a tank.
Yeah, no, and it doesn't feel like Icelandic Heroes have been able to get involved here either. He's had the Cyclone available for a while, but just hasn't found a chance to use it. Uncle Sam's constantly getting forced back in the one-on-one. Cookie Crook pushing just fine on his own, but you don't want to try to dive the Maokai unless his HP is really low. And bot lane's just been losing as well, constantly pushed out, and Chad is there to make it into a 3-on-3. hasn't had a lot of good options to play through because of how the lanes have been going, and just feels like Ole Miss is losing more lanes than they're winning, and that's going to cause them to steadily fall behind.
Also, I'm not gonna lie, it feels hilarious to see the Nico go as a minion and then get completely poked out because the Syndra just pushes everything away. Oh, the dive?
Ooh, there's going to be the double snare coming out across Alorum, trying to outplay this. Doesn't have toasting advance. Will get it back up.
No.
Snares Icelandic Hero under the turret. There's a kill for Alorum in the 1 versus 2, and the collapse for Mirage Alliance is instant. Flash forward from Sudsy, not quite able to finish off Kuki. Counter-strike will keep him alive just long enough to escape through the mid lane. But Mirage, they're trying to escape back whatever they can find. They take down Kuki Kruk as Chad comes in from the flank, 2-0. Mirage.
Chad representing his name the best possible way. Goes in with Cataclysm, flashes out, says absolutely nothing else, and gets the kill. Pretty well played by the side of MA. And also, they played around that dive so effectively. Alarim showcasing why he knows how to play this Maokai really, really well. Holding on to important cooldowns, waiting until the last moment, and finding the value that you want to see from the tank when you're picking it. Works out perfectly, does give a bit of window for the side of Ole Miss to try and push a bit of the issue down here in the bot lane, but he was completely fine. He farms the wave, turret barely takes any damage, and he's going to be completely fine in the ensuing play. As we see how the replay comes through with Icelandic Hero taking the Q and then pushing himself back into turret, it was how the play was going to pretty much go completely doomed here. And if not for the extra magic resist on Kuki Kruk, he probably dies here by the last sphere.
Yeah, as well as the reduction in AoE damage from the counter-strike. Just every little bit saves him, but he ends up going down to Chad anyway. And remember when I said how you don't want to dive the Maokai while he's at a high HP total? That's exactly why. Multiple multi-man CC abilities, plus the regen from the passive, plus the ability to go temporary, invulnerable, or untargetable with that W. It's just so tough to make those dives work out, and they get fully punished for it on the Ole Miss side.
I do think the idea from Ole Miss originally probably was to try and stop the back from the Maokai and then force the dive. But they were a tad bit late onto that, and that's why they feel like they need to try and force it for the dive when he comes back from the teleport, and end up paying the price, actually. Oh. Yeah. Okay.
Taking some turret shots as long as it means he gets to proc his Demolish. Alorum will...
I don't think he did, actually. I just think he got the plate.
Well, you know, that's it. That's all it takes. At least gonna get a fair bit of gold in his pockets, if nothing else. I'm gonna move on out. It's all coming up Mirage Alliance in this early game. He's about 2k in the lead. They've got themselves double dragons, and just nothing really getting scraped back here by Ole Miss, at least in the early stages.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like that at all. If not for the fact that they did get more plates from the Jax being able to collect some up during the top lane, then the gold deficit would have been much more in favor of the side of Mirage Alliance. But at this point, even with the deficit, I still don't think that it's that bad for Ole Miss. They still have a Sivir, they still have the Melio as well, and you can find always value with the Jax if he's able to scale towards the late game. Who's going to stop him when he's on a side lane? Essentially no one. So I feel like at this point, for Ole Miss, it's not the worst outcome possible. What is surprising though is that nobody tried to stop the initial Rift Herald, and now with this one they are maybe going to try and get a bit more control of turrets and push the issue a bit more so they can open them up better.
No, Uncle Sam still trying to clear out minions in mid lane, coming in with a big flank. Gonna get stopped though by Chad. Beautiful play with the Cataclysm. Denies the Nico. They will be able to pick on up the Rift Herald, but how many lives are they gonna lose to do it? Icelandic Hero stunned up and will drop before long to Alorum. It's 2 kills to Mirage in trade for the Rift Herald.
Yeah, 2 kills for just the Rift Herald. Not the best of trades, but maybe they can try and get something with the Rift Herald as soon as possible. It did went to the Wukong, which means that you have to wait before you can finally take some turret out of it. And with the push in the mid lane, I actually think that it's going to be first turret blood going into the pockets of MA. Teleport does come from the Nico, so more than likely not going to end up dying. And then also the Sivir was trying to push, but it's not going to find that value really.
Not going to be able to find too much there. Not even really touching the turret too much. It's still... I feel like it's got to be Kuki Kruk, or it's got to be some absolutely gorgeous team fighting in the late game, but you're not even going to get to the late game at the pace that you're currently going at if you're Ole Miss. Just only 1 item on the Sivir, and they're losing way faster than that. Uncle Sam going to get the cleanse coming on through from that Melio. and that'll be just enough to be able to walk away from the Chains of Corruption, but still low on HP, still a good mid-push angle for Mirage.
Yeah, it's still a good opportunity as we see top lane gank.
Yeah, they're going to try to shut down what may be the best hope. Shogo's getting solo killed by Sudsy in the bottom lane, and Mirage losing out on nothing as they continue to take control across the map. They get themselves first turret. It's mid lane outer. Gonna open up the map for them so much as a 5k gold lead at 17 minutes. I mean that they can do no wrong.
Yeah, it just feels so hard for the side of Ole Miss because they are not, it's not like they are not looking aggressively at certain plays. The problem is that they are not finding the sort of plays that you kind of want to go for with this comp. And in contrast, MA just finds really good plays. A lot on the back of Sudsy just being a complete Chad and winning by himself on the side lane, but then also you see the rest of the players being able to just perform really well. And I actually think I know what Caddy was talking about before about Alice build, and I think it's the tanker virus.
I think it might be what it is here. Yeah, looking like Caddy has told us that it's Radiant Virtue. It's Blade of the Ruined King and Radiant Virtue and tank items. Maybe there will be a Wit's End in there. It looks like that's what they're building. Neo on board, feels like, hey, you know what? Maokai's building Rod of Ages. He's gonna have some magic damage. Chad's gonna have a little bit of AD damage. I can just sit back here.
Yeah, as long as you don't die, that works out for you perfectly, and it feels like that's going to be the game plan for Neo. I'm really curious about how this works because I've seen inklings on social media about it, but I don't think I've actually seen how powerful or how it's supposed to work, as we see a potential 3-man gang actually.
All right, there is going to be Alorum getting pushed back underneath the turret. A 3-man squad of Ole Miss looking to make their plays around that tower. And they should at least be able to pick themselves up this objective bounty. There's just not enough members of Mirage Alliance around to be able to respond. So they scrape back a little bit of gold. They're going to lose this bot lane turret too, though.
Well, it is a bounty that they are getting as we see Chad actually forcing onto the Nico so heavily.
All right, Chad maybe bit off more than he can chew here. Gonna be able to slide back through, though. There's the Chains of Corruption, and I spoke too soon, TDS. Chad escapes from it all and will be able to get out of there despite 2 ultimates being committed for him. He just walks it off.
I don't think absolutely no one expected neither Chad to escape nor Uncle Sam. Both of them get out of there without losing their lives, and in the middle they are forcing onto the bot lane turret. They are just getting so much value because even with how the play ended up going a bit weird on both sides, they just had to push in their favor, and they are able to continue pushing on the bot lane. They get the initial turret, the second turret, as well as the first one, and the overall value that they are able to find is just simply way much higher than anything Ole Miss can try and achieve at this point. Maybe with the Rift Herald they can push into the mid lane, but I'm not sure if it's going to be comparable.
Definitely not. Going to try to scrape themselves back up. A little bit of objective bounties here in the mid lane. Dardoch is here for the backup, as is the rest of Mirage. They're going to take down that Rift Herald the instant it crashes, and they got some damage out there from Mirage, or from Ole Miss, but Mirage stands strong, and they're not giving up anything that they don't have to. If it's not a trade, they are not interested, and it's a 5k lead for them to shut down anybody saying otherwise. One more dragon will get them the soul as well. They've just held lockdown over the entire map. Dardoch going to have his potential engage thwarted there. He pops the Shurelya's, but does get snared up by the Tangle Barbs, but still, just a little bit too late on the play. They're going to lose their top outer here too.
Yeah, even if it stops the initial engage from Dardoch, it's not like it matters, oh, he's may be dead here.
Yeah, he got a little greedy there, just hanging out way too far up, gets knocked up. Icelandic Hero picks up the solo kill. Chains of Corruption utilized by Neo as well, doesn't find its mark. And now Chad gonna face check into 2. Mirage have to be careful not to overplay their hand. They've made a mistake. They need to make sure it doesn't balloon into too much more.
Exactly, they need to hold on a bit longer. It feels like they are going to try and hold the flash in.
Ooh, they're focusing everything on Neo. There's no backup available for him, and Kooky Krook wants this kill. There's going to be the finish off, but actually on the other side, Sudsy is able to take down Uncle Sam, and Kooky Krook going to go down to the Nature's Grasp. It's a 2-for-1. Somehow Mirage still come out ahead in the kill count.
Yeah, even if you consider the overall play when Dardoch died, it's a 2-for-2, and yes, you get the turret, but I don't think the value with what you spent or expend for trying to get the kill. Is that worthwhile? As we see also the bot lane getting pushed in, so they are losing turret damage down during the bot lane as well. All in all, not the best of options for Ole Miss, and it's going to be a pretty detrimental trade for them. I don't dislike the idea, don't get me wrong. I think that they need to look for this sort of plays, but the problem is that if they are going to commit, they have to be ready to commit accordingly, and it feels like one or two players are not necessarily committing accordingly with the rest of the team. So not the best of looks at this point, as Icelandic Hero gets a stop, just thwarted.
All right, they're going to choose to focus everything onto Allura and say, hey, we got Dardoch once, we want this shutdown, and they will be able to get it.
Okay.
Trying to give it to Shogo. They'll take Kooky Krook. That's the second best option if it's got to go to somebody different. Kooky Krook now going to get his third kill, a fat shutdown on top of it. And this Jax is what everybody's got to have their eyes on if Ole Miss are going to come back into this one. Chad looking to interrupt recalls will stop Icelandic Hero. Scout of the Week doesn't find its mark, and they will be able to escape.
They still want to go for more. Dardoch is forcing.
All right, throwing down the chains of corruption. Icelandic Hero might not be able to get out of this. Scout of the Week connects the second time, and there's the Rampage picked up for Sudsy. Uncle Sam finally gets a Pop Blossom onto 3, but it just doesn't matter. Scout of the Week onto 2 is beautiful from Sudsy, and 3 members of Ole Miss will crumble. Mirage moving back to the Baron.
Yeah, they may have gotten the shutdown onto Kooky Krook, but it doesn't really turn into anything meaningful. Whereas the engage from MA is just that much better. Chad forcing the issue, Dardoch forcing the issue as much as possible, and they will secure the Baron buff and more than likely the Dragon as well. As we see how the play happened, I honestly didn't notice the double teleport going on the back. Really good play how they went for it, and then forcing onto Alarm, I think as well the right choice because he had the more gold. I hate the fact though that they didn't give the kill to Shogo because he needs the shutdown more than anyone else. Probably could have managed that out better. And then here, a bit of lazy recalling, but I understand the need of trying to go back as much as possible because what was in play was the coming dragon. It was the soul. And I think that that was why they tried to back as soon as possible, but at the end it ends up biting them back in the ass and they lose not only 3 members or 2 members in this play, but also the Baron buff and have absolutely no control over the dragon as well. That's going to be so Mountain Soul for MA if it's not obtained for by Ole Miss.
And they're already so tanky compared to what's getting pushed out by Ole Miss. It's going to be so difficult to play out these fights if that Dragon Soul comes on across. It is still standing for the time being, and Ole Miss are going to try to make their last stand for the Soul. Sudsy pushing out the top side has access to that Unleashed teleport to join the play. It has a really great place to go to there with that ward placed down behind the rock coming up towards the ramp. They are going to start on up the dragon. Here's the teleport now. Being channeled for Sudsy to be able to rejoin the rest of his squad. Engage from Allura. He just pushes the button and goes for it. There's the Nature's Grasp across the rest of the team. They're going to look to throw down on top of it. Here's the flank from Uncle Sam. The best fighting angle that he's been able to find so far, but he will end up falling on down. They are going to be able to take down Sudsy as well. Ole Miss fighting their way back, but Chad says no. Chad crushes down on Uncle Sam and takes down Kooky Krook as well. Allura swinging with all he's got with that Rod of Ages AP damage, and Shogo's the last one standing, trying to kite it back with assistance from Rhino on the side. The cozy campfire keeps them at bay, keeps the damage coming through, and the bot lane of Ole Miss, they're not done yet. Allurum's gonna try to zone them out, pushing forward on towards this Sivir. Rhino there for the backup, but can he stop this gigantic tree from hunting down his AD carry? It certainly doesn't look like it. One more shot from Neo's gonna go wide, but Shogo will drop. The Soul will go to Mirage, and they win it all again.
That has to be one of the saddest fights I think I've seen ever between an AD carry and a tank player. But this fight, it starts really interestingly by the side of MA. They are the ones that force the issue, but the flag by Uncle Sam is marvelous. Catches out 3 members. Crucially, the 2 carries plus the Janna, even though the ultimate by Dardoch is really, really nice. But importantly, they kill 2 members immediately quickly. But this is where the main part from the composition of MA works out really well. Chad and Maokai are just so tanky that they cannot get killed really quickly. And then Neo, because he opted into a different build, a much more tankier build, he actually doesn't die either. So he's able to stand his ground for longer, survive for quite a bit, and not die in this particular play. Any other Varus build gets killed in this situation, but not this one. And at the end, they get the dragon with the extra healing, and Alarim just stands tall and stands huge like a tree and stops everything.
Looking so good here. I talked before you got here, TDS, about how Alorum has been putting up huge performances throughout these ACL playoffs, and he continues it here, just absorbing so much pressure in that top lane. Yes, he goes down for the solo bolo once, but who cares when he comes up like this in the team fights? Even when his carries drop, he is able to show up huge. He's able to be a big force in the team fights, and he's still absorbing pressure. He's got jungle and top laner down there in the bot lane with him, while his team are taking inhibitor turrets.
They take 2 turrets. In the meanwhile, they also force a lot of members back, and now Alarim gets once again just free time to try and push. And there's the thing with Alarim, trying to talk about how everything has gone so far for this FMA, and it's showing that it doesn't really matter if you play the tanks. The main thing about tanks is that they survive. They are big, chunky champions that takes quite a lot to get the opportunity to kill them. And if you kill them, great. But it will take you so long that it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter at the end, because the rest of the team just does their job and are able to win the team fight. And that's the big thing about Iron. Not only that he plays the tanks, but he plays the tanks really effectively to allow for the team to get a lot of opportunities to carry the game. And that's something that maybe not a lot of top laners in the ACL are able to replicate, or at the very least, not at the level that Alarim does.
No, nobody wants to weak side anymore, TDS. It's an old man's game, and Alorum is one of the best at it. Doing such a good job on this. Maokai showed up huge later on in the game. He loves this Rod of Ages build as well. He's been going it every time I see him play Maokai top. Just thinks having that extra damage is so valuable, and being able to keep expending mana to keep gaining health back complements what Maokai's already looking to do. He's basically immovable in the side lane at this point.
Yep. Honestly, the more I look at Neo's build, the funner I think it kind of looks with what he opts into. But he's actually just going to be able to deal so much percentage damage as well. Plus, heals so much.
Yeah, it's tough to kill anybody here. As long as Sudsy's at a safe distance, and there's no real right answers for fighting Mirage here. Every single member is...
The last team fight was probably one of the best opportunities Ole Miss was going to get ever. And killing the tanks was close to impossible. But they also kind of... It was really difficult to even kill Neo as landing hero has to flash. That's unlucky.
It's rough, dude. That flash is so important, too.
Yeah,
how are you going to find the Cyclones on the back line with that gone?
And it's just so difficult for Ole Miss at this point. Like, I still think they do have a great late game, because once again, who's going to stop the Jax in the side lane if he gets farther a bit more gold? Nobody. And then the Sivir can carry the game out. The problem is that I don't think you get 10 more minutes for the Sivir to carry the game out. As Baron is already started, nobody even close teleport coming in, but I'm not sure if they are going to be able to arrive here well enough.
Yeah, nice timing on the tornado from Dardoch. They're going to focus everything on a Kooky group. Here comes Pop Blossom, but it only finds Chad. Chad continues to deny the engages, and it's a double kill for Neo already. Shogo trying to kite it out, but Alorum is all over him as chasing down the Mirage Alliance squad. Twisting advance back into the team. Shogo takes several more shots, and Neo will finish him off with a domination.
Yeah, that's it.
It's going to be another kill coming over Sudsy. 4-for-0 team fight to Mirage Alliance. Only Rhino left standing, and they're going to close out game number 1.
Rhino is going to watch as the base falls down, every other member dead, and Mirage Alliance does not care. They are here to keep on defending their title, and they are doing an amazing job at that so far. As Rhino, is he going to die? No, he's too fast.
Nah, he's getting out of there, but the Nexus is going to die one way or the other. So not too much you can say about it either way. Mirage draw first blood in tonight's best of 5, and Ole Miss are staggered.
And really, a good showcase of why Mirage Alliance is not only our defending champion, but also an NACL team. This is one of the reasons why they played so well when they began ramping up, and they've been doing just that since they fell down to the lower bracket. It looks like they're in a tier that it's honestly kind of refreshing to see. And you have to bring up the important members like Sotsi and Neo, the carries that you can always count on. I think Sotsi even stepping up more than we were kind of expecting originally. But you have to throw the credit as well to the old dogs, because this game, Alorim and Chad were performing amazingly well. And I don't know why I'm saying old dog to Chad. Like, he has been playing in the LCS, maybe that's why, but in general, his performance was great. And then Dardog with the Janna, unexpected, but quite a nice change of pace from Dardog as well.
Absolutely. I mean, the whole team looks like they have found their stride in the last like 2 weeks. I mean, the O2 loss to Keep Bathing Bot, a team that's not even in the tournament anymore. Very, very rough look for them, back all the way in the first week of playoffs, but coming back against CG Futures, coming back against Cincinnati Fear, and then just dominating Lotus Exiles. This team has just been amping up as they get deeper and deeper into their run, as they play against harder and harder teams, and they are looking at their peak right now as they take down Ole Miss in a very, very solid game number 1.
Exactly, a really good showing in the first game. A really nice start to try and see if MA is just going to be an unstoppable force, or if Ole Miss can try and turn around the situation. And looking at the second draft of the series, I'm really interested in seeing how the bot lane will end up shaping up, because once again, it is the hype matchup of the series. It was the matchup that we're putting our eyes on because of how much pressure and value the Ole Miss bot lane gets. The all-star AD carry in the form of Shogo needs to begin shining in the series, and I think this game particularly was really difficult because he kind of didn't get the opportunity. Got completely dunked on in bot lane because they put pressure onto him consistently, and then didn't get the time to scale as a Sivir. Does this mean that you now change your approach and go for a much more tankier jungler into having a much easier to win bot lane like the Caitlyn, or take away the Varus? Or do you stick to the plan of having the hyper carry, the safe carry in the form of the Sivir? Maybe an Ezreal as well could end up working out for them to try and give self-heal to Shogo.
Yeah, or just prioritizing the picks earlier in the draft. I mean, they're willing to let that go for a long ways after seeing that Varus locked in. They feel like they're going to be able to pick something up later on. It just does not end up working out that way. We'll see what the adaptations are going to be from Colomer's crew after a short break. We're going to be right back with draft number 2. Stay tuned.
Yep.
Welcome back, everybody, to today's broadcast of the Aegis Champions League, where we have got Mirage Alliance up 1-0 over Ole Miss. Such a good showing for them so far in this series, and Ole Miss going to be looking to really clap back in this game number 2.
Exactly. Different approach maybe could try and bring forward a bit more in the second game. We were talking a bit about this behind scenes, and obviously I do agree with the idea that a lot went wrong really quickly, and that can try and change a lot of the situations in the next game. I probably feel like if you pick the same comp, it doesn't go that badly to start it off, especially in the mid lane. But I do want them to try and take a much not safer but ideal approach to try and play around Shogo, right? Because one thing that certainly didn't work out was mid lane and jungle duo from Ole Miss against mid lane and jungle duo from the side of MA. Because I do think that Chad and Satsi were just simply superior to their counterparts. And if that's going to be the case, you need to find better ways to try and open up the 2v2 so that you can impact the bot lane. Something that we didn't really see be relevant all around the game. So I hope that Ole Miss can try and take that approach in the coming game.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping for much the same here. Ole Miss have really taken the fight to some really high-level teams so far in this bracket. I know that they have what it takes to be able to challenge the likes of Mirage, but they are looking so clean. They are looking like the best version of themselves coming off of that game number 1 and coming off of a really solid performance last week as well. Gonna have to really be the best version of Ole Miss if they're going to be able to challenge.
Exactly, and I think they have everything in their power to try and show off like that. Apparently they are staying on the same side, so I do think that they probably are going to try and take a much proactive approach into trying to pick the bot laners, which works out really well to try and get more value for Shogo. And speaking about a bit about that bot lane matchup, something that we were kind of hyping up just even before we came here. Shogo, one of the all-star AD carries of the ACL, a player that hasn't had the best of opportunities to try and be in the NACL OQs. Hopefully he can get into the NACL itself, because that way he can participate since he does take the import slot, if I'm not wrong. So if he can get to that spot, then maybe we can get more opportunities to see how he performs. But in that same vein, he's going against an AD carry that is all-star himself in the form of Neo. And I think he has to step it up to the plate to try and fight against Neo in a really effective manner, because your team plays around you. You are the win condition for your team. Whereas MA can play with Neo, but they also have the win condition in the form of Satsi and Chad. And I think that difference is what may end up becoming the big glaring difference in the continuation of the series.
Completely agree there as we are getting into the game at number 2 draft.
Of course.
Ole Miss choosing to stay on the blue side. So don't feel like that was the issue. People have been talking about the Conqueror Sivir, maybe not exactly being intentional, so at least something that you can adapt on. But I'm going to be honest, I don't think the rune choice for Sivir is where everything exactly went wrong in that game number 1. I do expect to see a change up of tactics, and there it is right there, the Varus band coming on through from Ole Miss. They feel like they can get themselves a better bot lane matchup, and that can be what changes it all.
Well, this opens up, if I'm not wrong, it was the Cyan coming in from the previous game. So this does open up now the Cyan unless MA ends up banning it away. And now you have to dig even deeper into pools depending on how it's going to go for both sides. Sivir is still available, so Ole Miss can try and go for it. But I think Saya probably feels like the option you opt into here, unless you really value the Sivir.
Exactly.
Or Caitlyn, maybe.
For sure. So now looking at Ole Miss, they will lock in that Nico first pick again. I'm gonna be honest, this is one of the things I would have looked to change, because if you just take a Jarvan Syndra rotation again here, I think Sudzi was so good in that Syndra versus Nico matchup, and it's gonna be really dangerous if he ends up forced into it yet again here, and there's nothing to really stop a Syndra lock-in from happening right here on R2.
I'm guessing maybe they changed their jungle pattern. They, instead of going for the Wukong, maybe they opt into the Sejuani or something like that. It's going to be the Jinx, so they probably feel like they are not going to lose out on the Syndra since it was the Nico pick. Yes, the Nico can still be flexed, but more times than less we see it going to the mid lane. So they probably feel like there's not going to be the takeaway from the Syndra, and they are opting into the Jinx since the champion pools have been quite pinched in the AD carry position. Sai is still available though, Caitlyn is still available, Jax is still, Ezreal is still available. trouble. There's options for Shogo, but MA prefers the Jinx, particularly for Neo. And with the Jax, I like the Sejuani because it feels a bit easier to stack up the passive with the Jax, but the Maokai also taking it away from Alarim doesn't feel like a bad choice. It's on them to pick it though.
Yeah, I mean, they had the opportunity to ban it away, too. They chose to ban range supports from Dardoch with the R2, or the second phase of bans on the blue side. They could choose to change that up as well. The Lee Sin lock.
That's aggressive.
For Icelandic hero. Very, very interesting to come on through there. I do think the Jax ended up being pretty successful for Kuki, so I'm not surprised they take that. But, I mean, there's that Syndra. You're going to need to utilize this Lee Sin in and around mid to make sure that you can set this Nico up for success, because that 1v1 did not favor Ole Miss's side in game number 1, and they're going to need to dodge out on getting those kinds of situations again in game number 2.
Well, I would guess maybe the Lee Sin earlier on is going to have much more value than the Wukong, and if you're able to get some CC onto the Syndra, she's going to be a much easier target. So I can see the 2v2, the 2v1 be much better for Ole Miss in that sense, although Syndra later on can push away the Lee Sin and the Nico the same, so it's not like that changes much. It's much more so the earlier pressure that you are going to see. As we begin to see the second phase bans coming through, it's the bot laners once again for MA, and it's the supports again for Ole Miss. And I think once again forcing Shogo into a really weird spot where you're taking away the hyper carries and taking away the save options as well. The Saya and the Aphelios, blanking on the name of the first champion, end up getting taken away, and I'm just expecting to see a similar ban here onto Dardoch. Actually, I would love to see the Janna ban away just because it does mess up quite a bit, but it would mean Milio first pick for MA could end up being the choice.
Yeah, it could also, I mean, the Karma was what they banned away here before, but I don't know if Karma Jinx is exactly a duo. I don't think that's a thing. The Thresh instead going to be the ban away here. I mean, that's a classic alongside usually the Aphelios, but the Jinx is kind of the same idea. I do think you can go Milio Jinx, though. This is a good opportunity to just snag that away. Instead, it's the Urgot for Alorum. He's listening. He's my boy. If he's going to come back on, you know, Mirage obviously intend to win this series. If they're going to win, I'm sure they want to just send Alorum here for his third interview in 3 weeks. And if they do that, he's got to have an Urgot game to talk about. So going in with the old classic, he played this in LCS TDS. So it has been a pick of his for a very long time.
Wait, that's Yasuo and Rakan. So is it a Yasuo Rakan bot lane, actually?
Yeah, I think it is. It's a Shogo bot lane Yasuo. This is a thing that Shogo's been doing all playoffs long, all season long, and he's going to run it back. I mean, looking like a Yasuo angle.
Yeah, and with the Yasuo and the Rakan pick ends up coming with the Janna. It was insta-log as well, by the way, so they were expecting it to be completely untouched and be able to get it. And I'm excited to see this coming through because I was thinking of what AD carries can they opt into, but technically speaking, Yasuo is pickable in the AD carry slot in Champ Select, so he does go into that spot as well. And if they can perform with the Yasuo Rakan, this makes the series even more interesting because now your bans have to change quite a bit going into Ole Miss. I do think though, and I really like the Janna pick here, because the Tornado can stop a lot of the engages, the Monsoon can stop a lot of the engages, and the extra shielding value for the Jinx can maybe make a difference when trying to stop engages from happening.
Definitely can, and you know, it's just being double melee up against, and you know, Rakan is like the longest range melee. I believe. I think he technically counts as a melee, but he's like the opposite of Thresh. Like Thresh is the shortest ranged.
Okay, so he counts as ranged. I thought Thresh also counted as melee.
Unless they changed it, I remember you used to be able to build like Hurricane on him and stuff. So it's like that. I'm pretty sure Thresh counts as ranged. He at least did at some point. I think that's the dividing line, is like on the spectrum, there's Rakan is the longest range melee and Thresh is the shortest range. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to play double melee into Jinx Janna. Whatever you count Rakan as, he's not as long as a Jinx or a Janna. They're going to be taking a lot of poke damage. Dardoch's probably going to go for the Hail of Blades again. You've got to find a way to navigate that.
Yeah, the main thing though is that if you misstep in the bot lane, the 2v2s can be really easily won by the Yasuo Rakan just because of the amount of burst damage they do have in themselves. The Yasuo can get on top of the Jinx really well, and then you can play around the fact that with the wind wall, you can stop a lot of the incoming damage, plus the traps and the tornado. So it can be a really interesting mind game that you're forcing down during the bot lane, and how effectively can you find the value. And I'm also thinking about later on in the game, they probably want to be able to force much more effectively. Like even if you lose the bot lane, if you get one great engage onto the AD carry, the support, and the mid laner, you probably get the kill really quickly. And then killing the remaining two targets is going to be much easier. But it's a change. It's a change, and I'm excited to see how it works.
Yeah, I mean, Ole Miss are definitely going for a little bit of a wild haymaker here in game number 2, going for the Lee Sin in the jungle, going for the Yasuo on bot lane. They're trying to like just play it fast and aggressive rather than waiting for scaling like they did in game number 1. Clearly, you got to pivot somewhere, so they're going full force in the other direction. We'll have to see if that's going to end up working out for them, though. I think Mirage Alliance were so clean with it in game number 1. They were really good at absorbing pressure, especially in and around that top side of the map. So we'll see if they're going to be as good at it in bottom, if Ole Miss are going to try to target this Rakan Yasuo lane, as I really feel like they should.
That should be the focus point in reality. And also with the top lane being a bit of a harsher matchup maybe for the Jax. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not top lane expert, so I don't know the ins and outs of the matchup particularly, but I would guess that Urgot does have better traits onto the Jax. I'm kind of curious if the passive does count as an auto attack, or does it count as an ability, which could make the matchup a bit more different than what we typically expect. But I do want to take a step back and talk a bit about how Ole Miss, or how the perception of Ole Miss was coming into playoffs, and how much they've changed it, right? Maybe by virtue of some of the changes that they had to make with adding Cookie Crook, but I do think that as a team, they've been evolving really well. I always catalog the team as Shogo-centric, and I still believe that to a certain degree, but I think that the fact that Shogo can try and play different style of bot laners does make a bit more open the statement of Shogo-centric, and I think that as long as they can keep on doing this, the surprises can keep on coming from Ole Miss. And a good turnaround is this sort of game where you show your cards similar to the first game, but add variations that can impact even more the early stages and the mid stages of the game, and that way bring MA into a state of confusion and try and put the game, the series, into a much more interesting spot. It's going to be a fun game, and I want to see Ole Miss try and showcase why they are at this point, a point where a lot of people maybe weren't expecting them to be.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there, TDS. I think you're right. And I think what really opens them up to try to play a little bit the different styles there, as well as the addition of Cookie Creek to this team. Yeah. In the regular season before he joined, I think they were a really heavy Renekton team. They played a lot of the Cassante, like a lot of those standard frontliners. And yeah, that was the meta at the time too, don't get me wrong. But I definitely think Cookie Creek is somebody that stands out to me as really being adept at this Jax. You think back to his time on his run with Middlesticks last split, where they were able to make it all the way to the finals up against Mirage Alliance. I mean, this is a revenge match for Cookie Creek in particular, having lost in the grand finals against Mirage just last split. And he was really good for them, especially on stuff like this Jax, able to play very well into Alorum. Alorum kind of made him look foolish in that first game after that first solo kill. See if he's going to be able to kind of come back stronger now in this Urgot matchup.
Yeah, a big difference there could be really nice for Ole Miss, especially creating another PowerPoint, right? Because talking about MA, we always focus on the fact that they do have Neo, but Sochi and Chad are other sources of carrying potential. Something that we've seen from the previous ACL split, from their time in the ACL OQs, and now here again. With the three players, they can really create different angles to try and carry the game from different positions. From Ole Miss, the Shogo-centric tag has been stuck to them quite a while. I catalog them as that. And if Cookie Crook can become a different sort of carry for them, opening up that, like you were mentioning, the fact that he does open up a bit more space with his picks in that sense, could be a really good fortitude for Ole Miss to have, especially facing the current ACL champions. And I also want to see Ole Miss try and go red side a bit more. I understand blue side does give you that priority, but giving Cookie Crook the counter pick could be something to look forward in the continuation of the series, especially because it's not only the Jax. I feel like he can play the other carries to a really high level, and he can try and play against Alorum effectively.
Yeah, I definitely do think that's a point of pressure that I want to see Ole Miss try to play for more. I really just want to see more activity from Icelandic Hero in the early game period. And you've clearly picked the Lee Sin to be able to do that. But yeah, you know, he was waiting for level 6 on the Wukong in game number 1. And then even after he hit it, he couldn't really make a lot of ganks. I'm pretty sure the first time he cast Cyclone was that dive on towards Alarm in the top lane where they ended up losing both members and getting nobody. That's not what you want to happen
at all. And I do agree. I think Icelandic Hero needs to step up a bit more. I will say we brought this up in the initial part of the draft, and I think it's a good continuation into the whole game. It's the mid lane jungle duo, I think, that needs to step up quite a lot, because Chad and Salty just run the show from there. So if Icelandic Hero and Uncle Sam can step up, I can see the game from Ole Miss becoming a bit easier to try and play around for their carry and their potential carry to be in the form of Cookie Crook. So hopefully we see a bit more from them, and could be a good turnaround as well going into the rest of the series.
Absolutely. Heard some spawns coming on in, so it looks like we will be ready to get into this game before too long. Looking for Ole Miss to try to make the comeback here up against Mirage. And they've really got to change up what we saw in game number 1. It's going to be about the aggression coming in from the jungle. It's going to be about if Shogo is going to be able to get going in the bottom lane for this Yasuo. And neither of those are how the game played out in game number 1. The change in picks, they're hoping to find a change in results as well.
Exactly. For Bo5, this is important moments. It's not the end of the world, because in Bo5 you do have at the very least one more game before you actually get out, but they need to begin turning around, and this can be the good turning point for them. So looking forward to how they end up playing this one out.
All right, let's get into game number 2. We are geared up and ready to go. Ole Miss Esports taking on Mirage Alliance for the second time tonight, looking to tie up the series. Mirage Alliance looking to take it to match point.
And once again, it's looking like there's not going to be any initial level 1 attempt. It's just going to be the 5-point into the steering contest, nothing out of the ordinary. They don't have a lot of earlier champions to try and get CC down, which does make a lot of sense for why they don't go aggressive, but not even trying to get as much information as possible doesn't even feel like that.
Definitely doesn't. They are looking to get in for what is going to be pretty calm early game, actually. I was expecting maybe a little bit of an invade, especially coming in from the Ole Miss squad, but instead they're going to play it safe. And again, nobody even going in for some early wards.
Yeah, nothing much out of the ordinary here, which is surprising, but not completely unexpected. And then looking at how both youngers are setting up, maybe a bit of what we were expecting. Chad with a similar path going towards bot side, and then Icelandic Hero maybe wanting to impact that top lane a bit more. Maybe give Alarim a bit of a harsher time so that Cookie Crew can just run the show on the side lane.
Absolutely. Here is going to be Sudsy starting on off his laning phase, hoping to repeat that really great laning phase he had up against Uncle Sam's Nico in game number 1. That's easier said than done, of course. And I gotta watch me some Alorum Urgot, man. This is... Talked about it. This is a big pick for him. He's playing this back in his LCS days. And now going to be bringing it on back here. Played a really good game on it last week as well, up against Lotus Exiles. Going to be starting off with that Disdain, flipping back in Cookie Crook and looking for a solid early trade.
Yeah, already quite a good start up there in the top lane, putting a bit of pressure onto Cookie Crew. Gets here to level 2 though, so maybe could be a difference maker, but the range against melee almost always can be a bit of a messed up affair for some of the melee top laners. And then in the mid lane, pretty similar to what we were seeing in the first game, and in the bot lane, it's what we're expecting. Range against melee is going to look a bit like this.
Knockups coming on across, and yeah, gonna be a pushed in wave for the foreseeable future. Neo and Dardoch getting that level 2 first, gonna look for that level 3 first as well. Cookie Crook, though, hitting level 3 first in his own right, taking a big shot from those knees. As here's the all-in from Shogo and Rhino. They get the exhaust, the counter exhaust coming on through. Neo trying to run away, but gets hit by the knockup. Gonna have to flash back away, but will be able to stay alive. Double summoner spells blown for both AD carries, plus the offensive summoner spell from the supports. Shogo not done yet, still dashing through the minion wave, but Chad is here to turn around the fortunes. Big block on the zap from Rhino. Chad flashes
really nice
away
move
from the
there.
knockup, but doesn't land the one of his own. Shogo heading back into the river to try to escape, but Chad coming on in with the red buff. Neo has to dodge out on the Steel Tempest, and Shogo will pick up first blood. Now Dardoch trying to peel on out of here, but Rhino will not be able to find him. Alorum getting dove on the top side will get one back. Violence across the rift as Mirage Alliance end up with the higher kill score.
It's a myriad of kills all around the map. Everyone gets a taste, except the mid laners. Nobody dies here, but it works out amazingly well for, ooh, the flash there. Uncle Sam.
Sudsy at risk of going down. Will just barely get away. And oh no, here comes Chad, and Uncle Sam is done for. A killing spree to the Mirage Alliance jungler.
I will say, as a mid laner, that's one that I know the feeling of 100% of the time. Perfectly played there by both Sudsy and Chad, and with 3-0 start, the jungle matchup looking a bit one-sided at this point. The top lane dive doesn't work out as well as we were expecting it. Cookie Crook does get the kill, but with the kill going back into Alarm, it's not going to be the worst of trades possible, although the wave is in a really weird spot here. And then in the bot lane, full props to how Shogo was playing it, because I think that he danced around them so effectively. But at the end, it was a 3v2, and you also used your flash and exhaust really early on. So the way that it was going to end was kind of expected, but he played really, really well around that.
Really did. And now Mirage Alliance find themselves off to an early lead once again, but we got some action out of Ole Miss. This is what they wanted with this draft. They do manage to get out of the board early. The first blood gold is in Shogo's pockets. That will put him pretty close in gold to Neo, I'll say. He is substantially down in CS. Will be able to collect a fair bit of it as it crashes into him here, assuming he doesn't get zoned off too hard. Chad is in the area, but I think it's a little early to try to dive a full HP Yasuo.
It's not that easy, especially with already committing so much in the previous play. I do think that it probably doesn't benefit you that much. With the dragon being started already and with Shogo being forced under turret, I don't think there's a good angle for them to actually try and force a play here. Although they are coming in on the side.
Yeah, coming on in, there's going to be the smite coming on across. Neo actually going to be the one who gets the credit as Rhino has to head for the hills right away. Icelandic hero flashes back, but he's still stuck in the pit, but Chad falling too low. Will trade 1-for-1. He finishes off Rhino, but gives the shutdown over to Icelandic hero. As Shogo looking to pop off in the fight, diving forward. He'll go down, but Icelandic hero will get one more. Sudsy is cashing out, though. Will get himself another kill, and low enough on HP. He's got to keep himself a safe distance from Uncle Sam. Dardoch leading the charge, waiting for the Zephyr slow, will get it, and here comes Sudsy over around the wall, dodges out of the tangle barbs, one more ultimate, not gonna quite find him, and Dardoch will just hunt him down with the Zephyr, a solo kill to Dardoch for 8 kills to Mirage's name.
Dardoch's been playing this Janna close to perfection. I feel like so much value in the previous fight in the Dragon, and we'll see soon in the replay how everything kind of boiled down. They do get the shutdown from the Jarvan, which is quite a big advantage for the side of Ole Miss, but in general, they lose the Dragon, they lose the fight, and now they get so much gold in favor of Mirage Alliance. Really nicely played in with 3 members. Maybe a dive could end up happening down here. Yeah, Neo has to escape.
Yeah, Neo is going to lose out on a bunch of this wave, and now Dardoch maybe getting himself a little bit caught out in the river. Neo going to try to wall off Shogo, does hold him in place in time for Sudsy to arrive. Dardoch flashing away, nearly going down to the collapse. But meanwhile, Mirage trying to make a collapse of their own, finding Rhino. Here comes Icelandic hero. He's still just level 5, not going to be able to go for any of those displacing kicks. Chad coming on in. Rhino has to grand entrance his way out. Ole Miss will disengage.
Okay, Rhino is completely fine at the very least, so nobody is going to end up dying. But what a long sequence of events. A really long trade in general, but nobody ends up dying after the Dragon fight. It's just a pretty normal affair. As we see the replay on the Dragon fight, it's kind of what we were expecting with everyone being in a better spot for MA. The Dragon gets collected by them, but Chad, after using the flag, kind of gets spotted into a really weird spot, doesn't have the pullback from the Janna, and the stun into Islander hero doesn't connect. so it was a bit difficult for them to end up playing around this. They do get the kill into Rhino really quickly, and then they move around really effectively. But I want to give credit here to how Shogo played, because once again, the Yasuo play has been really good. Oh, Satsi.
Ooh, Scout of the Week just barely missing, and Uncle Sam finding himself another angle to go aggressive. Tanks the full unleashed power, though, and that'll be enough for Sudsy to just say, get off me, and push Uncle Sam off of the fight. Chad lurking around as well, goes in for the flag and drag, doesn't find it, but no tangle barbs available. Neo sniping across the map with the Super Mega Death Rocket will claim the kill credit in mid.
Wait, so I need to see a replay there, because I think that Neo was actually in vision, so they knew Neo was standing there throwing the Super Mega Death Rocket. I'm actually kind of curious, but it's a kill for Neo, really good value, and he's still winning the CS matchup against the Yasuo. So the overall value is just skyrocketing for the side of MA.
Ooh, Knockup connects onto Neo, and he doesn't have the ultimate. It's a little bit of something here as Icelandic Hero coming on down. Great positioning of the Tornado, going to stop any dive from coming on through, and they just have to give up on it right away. They see the Tornado amping up, and there's just nobody to go aggressive onto. Now gonna find the knockup, flashed away from by Neo. Icelandic Hero is level 6 now, looking for the ulti combo with Shogo. Exhaust plus everything will finally claim Neo's life, but it's a 1-for-1, and Alorum is here to try to turn around the play. He's got the Fear Beyond Death available, knocked into the wall, not gonna be able to find the ultimate, chasing down, flashed over by Alorum, and the shield will only delay the inevitable. Alorum takes down Shogo.
Okay, I'm not sure if the Janna was the reason why Alorum ends up messing there the Fury on Death, but it doesn't matter. They do get the kill. They forced a bit more on from Alorum to try and get the kill, but the overall value is really nice for MA. But Cookie Crook is not stopping and taking advantage either. They do have the Jinx coming in. They have Super Mega Death Rocket.
Yeah, Cataclysm committed. There's a Super Mega Death Rocket barely flashed away from by Cookie Crook. It looked like it was already inside of him.
Yep.
He will be able to get out of there.
Yeah, I was expecting the death to come through as Alorum.
Ooh, really good buffer there with the disdain. Will it be enough, though? The knockup does connect. He's just trying to kite this one out, using the shotgun knees. He will get underneath the turret. He's just too tanky. Meanwhile, there's a Rift Herald being thrown down in the top lane. And everybody on Mirage says, hey, thanks for your lane gold, Alorum. We're going to clean this one up. Uncle Sam coming in on the flank, though. Dardoch going to be the only one knocked up. They're going to focus everything onto him. He gets the knock up on a 1, but will end up dropping for the shutdown. Now Chad has to frontline for Neo to try to get him out of this fight safely. Knockup connects on a 1, but there's going to be the resonating strike. Follow up with the kick, nearly taking him down. But Neo returns fire. Icelandic Hero wants to be able to find this kill, and he'll get it. Flash Sonic Wave for the kill.
Yeah, and with all the kills that it's happening, Shogo gets even more free time down there in the bot lane. Icelandic here is trying to escape and find an opportunity, but I don't think he's going to find it. Oh, wait.
Ooh, knock up.
He's not gonna
There's
find
going to be Neo just getting himself another kill. Another excited stack, 3, 3, and 4. Neo is balling out in this game number 2.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I like the fact that Neo just gets the kills like that as we see the replay on the bot lane dive. The attempt is not bad, but you see the lack of damage come through here. It takes way too long to finally get the kill onto Neo, and it allows for the teleport on Alorum. We see the ensuing play and how it works. Yeah, the Fear Beyond that, I do think was a bit of the reason why Alorum does fail the Monsoon is one of the reasons why the Fear Beyond that fails, but it's all fun and game. They do get the kill at the very least at the end, and then everything else in the map kind of falls into place after the initial play, which could have been much better play, but I like how they are kind of messing up with each other to a certain degree.
Ooh, Scout of the Week. Connects on Uncle Sam. Not quite the burst damage yet. No items completed yet for old Sudsy in the mid lane. But this is looking a lot like game number 1. At the very least, Ole Miss have gotten themselves some kills back, but they're not allocating them exactly where they want. One of those big shutdowns going over to the Rakan. 1, 3, and 3 for Shogo's Yasuo. And Neo is just getting so strong with so much kill participation.
Yeah, at the very least, they do have a champion that is really good. Oh, wait. Satsi.
All right, Sudsy is down, and Uncle Sam will be able to get himself a little something back. Meanwhile, Alorum has disdained Kooky Krook back into the turret, gonna land the Fear Beyond Death. This is a solo kill angle for Alorum, and he's gonna get it, yanking back in Kooky Krook. Get over here, as it's a solo kill to Alorum. Chad will lock down Shogo, a very clean dash through. Will get Shogo outside of turret range. Will it be enough, though? The tornado doesn't land, and Chad is just brawling with the full Conqueror stacks. Takes him down with the Dragon Strike, as Icelandic Hero collapses on the top lane, but Alorum can take on all comers, especially when Sudsy's coming in with the TP. Neo committing the ultimate in the bottom lane as they 2v1 dive on towards Uncle Sam. Rhino barely able to escape and gets a kill back as Uncle Sam falls on the other side. Chad coming into the top lane, gonna be able to take down Rhino, and it's all on Icelandic Hero to see what he can claw back. Alorum still frontlining for Chad, will get his jungler out of there.
The chaos is not stopping Gordo. Everyone just wants to get a kill. In the bot lane, Uncle Sam ends up dying, so the play... Oh, I think Dardoch may end up getting collapsed and kill. Is he fast enough? And that was close as well.
Yeah. Everybody's out. Everybody's gone. We're done. We're done with action for the time being. We're gonna take a breather.
Actually, an opportunity to stop this.
All right, Icelandic Hero trying to defend. Chad coming on in for a potential dive. And Icelandic Hero's going to bail. Another wave coming on in, though. Alorum wants this turret gold. He just might be able to get it.
Look at the platings. Because of the continuous fighting and how much space some have had. Oh, but...
All right, focusing everything on towards Sudsy. He does go into the stasis, and Alorum is TP'd in. Knockup connects from Shogo, but he's got to be worried about the man right in front of him. Alorum raining through the damage. Black Cleaver already completed. Super dangerous on this Urgot. Shogo will successfully back off.
They really do love their fighting. Everyone just wants to force themselves onto the enemy, and they are forcing some really good trades. Dardoch knows what's going to happen here. Yep.
All right, following in with the fight, there's going to be the Cataclysm out of 2, jump right out by Rhino and jump back in to keep the shielding out of Kooky Krook, but look at Neo. He's untouched in the fight. Will finally get charmed on up, but he's going to get excited as he takes down the first target. Wind wall from Shogo is huge, though. Knocked back away is Neo, but he's still firing. He's dodging out on the skills, flashing away to safety, resetting across the team. A double kill for Neo as he's going to turn it into a triple, snagged away by Alorum, and Mirage Alliance put Ole Miss in the dirt.
Nah, that is so well played by Neo. The spacing and the damage all coming in perfectly. That's what you want from your AD carry. You may have your fancy plays and everything like that, but Neo is just outplaying them in the close distance and gets the kills. The Jinx now 6, 3, and 6, and it all starts with what I believe to be a bait by Dardoch. He knows that they are down there, but they don't know that Chad is on the position. Yes, they stop the Monsoon, and the Cataclysm maybe doesn't find the biggest of values, but Neo's just in a perfect spot. He gets complete value, killing immediately the Rakan, plus the pull away onto the Jack so that he's not in a good spot to kill Neo, and then he just plays this out perfectly. To a certain degree, a bit of misplay from Icelandic and Kooky Krook, pushing away the Jinx from the stun from Kooky Krook, but after this, it's just the Neo show playing really well the distance with the Jinx.
Absolutely here, and beautiful kiting there from Neo, dodging out on the Sonic Wave. That would have killed him, flashing out to safety once the Yasuo gets on top of him, and just having himself a incredible fight. Meanwhile, the dive coming through onto Alorum, but here comes the turnaround thanks to that ultimate. So Chad gonna at least be able to take down Shogo, but he does lose his top laner. Now brawling jungler v jungler, not found in the river, but Neo can just turn around and fight Uncle Sam. He's gonna be able to get himself excited. Meanwhile, the fight, it's going wrong on both fronts for Ole Miss. Mirage Alliance, throw him out of there.
Talk about complete and utter disaster. Neo doesn't even die to the Nico by herself being able to collapse into the AD carry. That's really bad news. And this means that now, with the pressure that they get, the fact that they are ahead in Dragons as well, they can force onto the Baron, and it looks like they want to move over there, although Kooky Krook is close to Dardoch. But looking at the replay quickly, okay, nobody dies. In the replay quickly, they are able to collapse into Alorum. Love how they are forcing themselves onto the top laner plus the exhaust, but because because of the amount of commitment and also the fact that Uncle Sam does get spotted before the play, it just becomes really difficult for them to get value on either side. Uncle Sam doesn't have the damage to kill Neo, and then they don't have the damage to survive after Alorim is dead. Shogo was already dying, and then the rest of the members were in a bad spot.
Oh, Dardoch again. His Janna's so clean,
It's
man.
perfect.
He just can't get hit by anything. Interrupts that Lee Sin kick. Now they're just trying to scrape back whatever they can. There's an objective bounty on this Rift Herald, and they want to claim it. They are going to lose the soul point for it, but will at least get something.
Yeah, I actually didn't even realize that it was Rip Herald. I thought because of how the game has been going, it was Baron. And yeah, Rip Herald does get collected by them. They get the value. Yeah, it feels like the game has gone longer though.
It really does. This has been a whole game's worth of play-by-play, I'll tell you that much.
That's true. I feel like I've
35 kills in 18
enough of my job.
These
analysis has been on point, and the PvP as well. Every kill has been narrated so far.
I'm losing it here, man. As Mirage Alliance continue to take each and every fight. And it's Ole Miss, I respect it. I respect them willing to go fight for fight. Oh, a trap set by Uncle Sam. Might just earn him a kill on a Neo. The shutdown picked up for the Ole Miss mid laner as Dardoch is forced to flash to safety. Chad now seeing what he can get back, but Shogo's not done. And Shogo's gonna get himself a second before he goes down. It's a 2 for 2 so far in the fight. An Icelandic hero will get himself out. A nice stun from Sunsy though. We're gonna keep this fight going. Icelandic hero dives back in, but he doesn't have the damage flashed over the wall, but it's followed by Kooky Krook, and Kooky Krook gonna be able to take him down. 3 kills over to Ole Miss in the extended fight, and they are going to take that every chance they get, finally finding themselves a victory.
And once again, another reason why people hate Nico, disguising herself as one of the minions, waiting actually till the last moment. I like this play more because it feels like with Nico now, people are expecting the Nico to disguise as the initial 3 minions. But here, waited until the end. Even though you see it coming, it's perfectly set up so that you can get on top of the Jinx. And the Nico, importantly, close to dying, but even if she dies, it's not going to be the end of the world, because you're trading a champion that is not that wealthy or that valuable at this point for the Jinx and the Janna, 2 really, really valuable champions at this point of the game. With the wards in this bush, it was really impossible for them to actually force a bit more onto Icelandic hero or Rhino, and then Kooky Krook arrives at the perfect moment for this play.
Yeah, really great follow-up there to be able to get himself onto Sudsy and get that kill back. Ooh, just barely missing Fear Beyond Death. Thank you to production for calling that one out. Alorim nearly snagging himself a little something extra. Meanwhile, Sudsy is just playing with Kooky Krook here, landing everything, dancing on the edges of his range, and Chad's here to finish the job. Kooky Krook goes down. Sudsy outplays him.
Alorim.
All right, Alorim going to have to outplay his own dive here. 1 versus 3. Full combo comes on across, and his health bar is gone. Icelandic hero gets 1 back.
You know, there's something poetic about seeing top laners get 3-man and then killed. There has to be a god that feels like this has to happen always.
I mean, the cross-map trading, that's been the name of the game all game long. That, my friend, is how you end up with nearly 45 kills in 20 minutes, is you just keep on fighting on opposite sides of the map all at the same time. Rift Herald actually getting some value up there as they find themselves an inner turret and are even going to get a charge onto the inhibitor. Mirage trying to do the same on the bottom side, but a little bit late to the party. They might lose this whole dang inhibitor turret.
I think. They lose the inhibitor turret. Alorim is not going to be on time to stop it, so it's going to be a free inhibitor turret plus maybe the inhibitor if Alorim. No, Alorim is going to get here, so they're not going to lose the inhibitor out. But this trade for Ole Miss is amazingly good. They stop the mid lane push. They get 2 turrets in the top lane plus the 2 bounties, and they also forced Alorim to go back after dying. They are now stopping as well the push in the bot lane and now forcing into the mid lane. All around, Ole Miss played out this transition so well. Maybe Rhino dies though.
Rhino able to dance on out. Battle Dance getting him a lot of distance away. Windwall gonna stop the stun, and they escape. They get away with murder. And I take back everything I said about Mirage Alliance playing lockdown in this game number 2. They've given a lot back to Ole Miss, and Ole Miss are thriving in the chaos.
And Neo has flash here.
Oh, the full combo. Everything goes towards Neo. Neo is so far away from the front line. He's going to drop to Shogo. And Mirage Alliance looking to pick up the pieces. pieces. Olorum firing away with the cannon over the wall, and he's got Sudsy there to pump out the rest, pulling him back in with the Fear Beyond Death as it's a 4 versus 4 as the fight continues. Shogo chunked out very low. Flag and drag forward, not going to be able to find the man. Is Uncle Sam going to have to go into the stasis? He's going to get blown up as soon as he comes out. Shogo on top of Sudsy, but getting gunned down by the rest of the squad. It's a triple kill to Sudsy, and Mirage Alliance turn it back around.
Sudsy may get the flare, deservedly so, but that fight was won by Chad. He played that out so beautifully as we see the start of how everything went on. They lose the trade. Sudsy loses out on the ultimate here crucially, so he doesn't have as huge amount of burst as possible for the ensuing fight. But here, this was the setup that Ole Miss has been looking on for so long in the game, trying to find Neo in a really weird spot, trying to force really quickly so that Neo cannot react, and they find the perfect angle. It was beautifully played, and they killed the AD carry immediately. But this is why I mean that Chad won the fight in my eyes, because after this, he forces the 3-man engage, plays around the Vision and Shogo so that they are forced into a really weird spot, and Cookie Crook is by himself on the side. Buys so much time with the flag and drag, they kill Cookie Crook, and then the re-engage by Chad to buy enough time so that they can kill the remaining members is beautifully done.
Oh, there's a stun onto Icelandic hero. They see an opportunity to punish the go for the Rift Herald, but now they're dumping on in everything on towards Neo. Shogo got that last breath, but it's not enough, and Neo is resetting. Neo's already got 2, and he's plenty excited for more. TDS pulled back across the map. Alorum with the Fear Beyond Death gets himself a double, and the rest of the Ole Miss are up next on the menu. It's going to be Rhino joining them, a triple kill to Alorum, and Mirage Alliance find the ace.
They find the ace, they find the kills. Neo is just taking the dragon for pure pleasure, and now they are pushing on to the bot lane, trying to get an inhibitor as well. They have a mid lane wave, they have a top lane wave, they have a wave wherever they want, and they are going to try and put, at the very least, more damage into the hearts of Ole Miss, because the game may not be over, but at the very least, it's looking really, really close to it.
And just like that, the chaos has been put to an end. Mirage Alliance find 2 fights in a row in their favor, and they are now fully in control once again. They take the bottom lane inhibitor. They've got themselves the Dragon Soul, and they are in the driver's seat to try to take us to match point.
And the fight went really interestingly because they started on Icelandic hero, but they find once again another great angle onto Neo. This time around though, he can flash away because the follow-up was not as big as the previous play. Gets the opportunity to run away. Neo is not caught up by Shogo nor Uncle Sam, and he just gets free firing time. And once again, I swear, Chad has been playing this Jarvan as if it was a carry. Like, he's just been making space, finding champions, getting teamfight opportunities. Jax just flies through to the mouth of the Word God, and now
I guess you can call it a mouth. Sure, it's Lorem's looking to chomp down on another. Shogo dashing back through the minions. He's got Rhino for backup, and Alarm says, hey, you know what? I'm proxy farming now. This means it's a 4 versus 3 on the rest of the map. Boys, go do what you do best. Start sieging on that base. I can buy time all day.
You know, I realized something just now. It's Yomu's Ghostblade on the Orgod. I didn't know it was the build right now.
Oh yeah, he's going all in for damage. If he sees,
I respect that.
It seems to be working out well for him. Nobody can kill him unless he's 1 versus 4. And now this siege really starting to play out here. Finally, Rhino is arriving to the party with Shogo. They're going to go the teleport being channeled by Alorum. The Pop Blossom going to find only Chad, as Chad has walled off this entire corridor. They're going to find Alorum, though. He's a little bit early. Will be jumped out the gate to stay alive. The Monsoon. Everybody standing as Neo is free to reset across the rest. Mirage Alliance, 5-0 domination, are taking us to match point.
Yeah, things may get dicey, but MA is the defending champion for a reason, Gordo, and they are showcasing it today. Chad playing like an absolute Chad, Neo the hyper carry of the team, Sudsy doing his job this game. I think that this game a bit quieter than the previous one, and then Arim and Nardog being the veterans, maybe not the stars, but the supporting cast that every team needs to succeed, and it's working out perfectly at this point. Huge game for them. I think managing the storm that the game game kind of was going into really, really well. And look at this. Dardoch flashes in to catch Uncle Sam out of guard. Then they immediately engaged on. They cannot kill Chad at all. He's way too tanky at this point. He survives for so long, and Alarim is the same story, barely taking any damage. They commit so much to kill the two members, but they don't have the value. Dardoch also with the Monsoon adding on top of it, and it's just working out marvelously for the side of Mirage Alliance. And honestly, Gordo, after how this game on the previous one went, I think you ban out the Janna from Dardoch. It's been so well played so far by him. Like, we didn't have it on the side, but it's a champion he can play 100%.
Absolutely. His Janna's been incredible. The other interaction that you've got to put a stop to if you're Ole Miss is having to play this Nico into Chad's Jarvan. It's been locked down 2 games in a row. Every time he pushes Cataclysm, it forces that Pop Blossom to hit nobody but Chad. It's been completely neutralizing the Nico pick 2 games in a row, and you can't keep letting this happen. It's just unplayable.
And the weirdest part is that they've had blue side on both sides, right? And the focus on the Nico, I understand it the first game, but the second one is kind of a bit too forced, especially because they didn't ban the Jarvan. They let the Jarvan go for the second round, and I'm pretty sure after the first game, Chad can destroy you if you give him the opportunity with the Jarvan. So it just feels weird, the decision making to give up the Jarvan. I understand that you want to have your team fighting composition, especially because if the plan was to play the Yasuo Rakan, then it makes sense. But I feel like you can play, if that's the case, you can take away their Lee Sin Nico and play the Jarvan instead. And it works out marvelously anyway, because you know that there's not a lot of AD carries that can escape Cataclysm, especially with the ones that are banned away. So it could have been an adaptation that Ole Miss opts into. And another thing that quickly kind of made the game really in flavor for Ole Miss in this party after they lost the team fights is that they don't have any wave clear. If they lose Baron and they lost it, then there's no way to stop the Baron push because they don't have effective wave clear to try and put a stop in consistent lanes.
Yeah, I think that's definitely been a big impact here as well. 59 kills in 27 minutes. That one was a lot more violent than the first, but Mirage Alliance win out all the same. Now 1 win away from stamping themselves a ticket to the lower semifinal this coming Friday and eliminating Ole Miss from ACL contention. We'll see if they're going to be able to come back after this quick break. We'll be back here with draft number 3. Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's broadcast of the Aegis Champions League, where Mirage Alliance are on match point up against Ole Miss. Ole Miss, they've tried super scaling, they've tried super aggression, and both have failed them. There's got to be a different look coming into this game number 3. You also have the ticker up top. CCG and Peach Cats currently heavily favoring the Peach Cats as they look to earn themselves a match up against the winner of this Mirage Alliance Ole Miss squad.
Yeah, and based on how we've seen everything unfolding, I'm really excited for what may end up coming from that series, because we either have 2 clean 3-0s, or potentially 2 reverse sweeps, or potentially 3 2s that are competitive. So I'm excited to see how everything is going to unfold at the end, which teams are going to qualify forward. But we still have, at the very least, 1 more game for this series. And honestly, with how Mirage Alliance has been playing in general, I feel like they are the clear favorites. Ole Miss has to show something else. You're mentioning hyper aggressive. They showed almost worked but didn't completely, and hyperscaling I feel like was a bit more difficult for them in general. So I feel like something in between wouldn't be bad in reality.
I agree, and while I tried to give them props for this in game, but I got cut off by the upteenth fight that was breaking out.
Yeah,
I think Ole Miss, like, when they're taking the brawls and they're taking these close skirmishes and playing, the meme is that it's LPL style, right? And trying to play like really skirmishy, really mechanical, really fighty League of Legends. It felt like they were pretty close to going blow for blow with Mirage, especially Shogo on the Yasuo and Icelandic Hero on the Lee Sin. They were able to find some really good angles. They were able to find individual picks, get themselves into favorable situations, land their skills, and have good performances in those fights. But it just started to favor Mirage Alliance more and more as those fights kept happening. A couple of pop-offs from Neo, a couple of pop-offs from Alorum, and very, very consistent presence from Chad on the Jarvan ended up making that difference. If you can upset that balance somehow, maybe a little ban towards the Jarvan, I'm just saying, there's potential to be able to be more successful through that strategy, I think.
And I think that has to be one of the main points that you have to tackle as Ole Miss in this potential last game. But after already changing sides, we know that they are going to play on the red side this time around, so trying to adapt in some way for this 3rd game. Importantly, I feel like one of the biggest changes you have to opt into is not giving MA the similarities from the 1st game, because 1st and 2nd game, the 3 particular things that have stayed the same: Jarvan, Syndra, Janna. Those 3 were staying the same. Now, at the very least, you're taking away one of the 3, which is the Jarvan ban away. And I really like that they are taking away the Jarvan, because Chad was, like his name was saying, an absolute Chad with how he played all around. So really nice adaptation coming here. And now also looking into how you want to play this 3rd game. Try and shy away from the Nico. I don't think you need to keep yourself playing the Nico. Play a bit more of a consistent, maybe magical damage mid laner, like the Asir could be an option, or the Yoni as well. Although now with the bans that are coming through, you can take the Syndra for yourself if you're feeling like it.
Yeah, for sure here, as that is going to be Callista as the 3rd ban from Ole Miss. They are focusing in on that Jarvan, like we called out. It's going to be a Maokai first pick, and it is going to be going up towards Mirage, probably for the top lane. I mean, at this point, like, it could be jungle. They keep that flex alive, but they've been running it top every chance they get.
Yeah, like, unless it's a really bad matchup, I think that top lane would be completely fine. This does open up for Ole Miss to now go for the counter in favor of Cookie Crew, but I think that you have to take your AD carry and mid laner here. Probably the easiest attempt that you can have in this situation, and then you can try and secure some of the power picks in your favor. The Jinx, we saw Neo playing it really effectively, and now Shogo may have the opportunity to try and showcase himself. As we see the Nico picked once again, I'm just thinking it's going to be the Syndra once again. Honestly, why not?
Yeah, I mean, definitely seems likely. I do think it looked a little better for Uncle Sam in game number 2. He looked like he was adapting to the matchup a little bit better. He didn't get solo killed. He nearly got a solo kill of his own. And now without that Jarvan there to disrupt his Pop Blossom play, I think that could really turn things around. And then the Jinx going over to Shogo is huge, by the way. I still think this pick is so powerful on the patch since the changes towards Get Excited, and they are going to seize that opportunity to get it, giving the Aphelios instead over to Neo.
And it's a champion that it's been banned away so consistently so far in this series, much more towards Shogo than to Neo, but we assume Neo is a player that is capable of playing the Philos really well. Last week though, we did remember, I think it was the first game where it was really difficult for Neo to try and do anything on the Aphelios, but it was more so composition based than Neo not being capable of playing the champion. I will say though, this was one of the combos that Emi used to much success. The Nico buy combo where you just point and click the champion and then Nico follows up onto the trail that the Vi leaves behind, I think can be a really easy to execute combo and a really effective one against two slow and mobile champions.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. It was huge in their series versus Fear. Good call out there. As yeah, they played at both of the wins that they had up against that squad. Haven't gone back to it since, but now going to go for it this time around. And you could even say they got even better options previously when they have been able to get it. So Ole Miss going to be piloting it for themselves here with the potential to get big resets off of a Jinx, pinching some of the pool here. That Trundle ban is setting up for an Olaf. We learned this from Alorum. Thank you, Alorum, for a quick little League of Legends lesson there. They're going to have to ban the Olaf as they see the Trundle ban away. That's his counter pick. So if they take the Trundle away, they got to take the Olaf away as well. And that's going to be a chance for the Jax to be locked in here for Kuki Kruk.
And leaving the counter pick for the support, I really like this. So far in the series, giving the counter pick to Dardoch has been really effective in trying to keep pressure down there in the bot lane. Now finally giving the counter pick to Rhino instead to give much better opportunity for the bot lane to gain control. As we see the Urgot for Alarim, which is consistent for him. We know how powerful it can be, and Chad piloting the Maokai up there in the top lane. Plus the Temkinch feels like a really good choice based on the buy on the other side. And now for the support, I don't think it's going to be the Sheko, but maybe in some weird universe it is. The remaining options in terms of the enchanters that you can pull off could be the Janna for yourself, or you can try and take the Lulu to try and give more hyper carry value for this Jinx. Or they could opt for the engage supports. Okay, it's the Bard actually, which not a bad option. I'm not against it with the Tempered Fade. It does allow for you to that even if the Temkinch eats away the Aphelios, you can just Tempered Fade the Temkinch and stop them from running away.
Yeah, taking a page out of Dardoch's book there as they go in for the Bard here. And yeah, Dardoch just choosing to play as safely as he can with this Tahm Kench. I think this is a cool pick to go for blind. It kind of just forfeits the lane, right? You're just like, okay, we're just going to farm it up here. You're going to go for some kind of broken duo alongside the Jinx. Yeah, we've banned away the Melio, but there's going to be something in there that's just super, super powerful. And whatever it is, we're not going to be able to blind anything into it. So instead, we're going to take the Tahm Kench. We're going to have the Grey Health to be able to heal back up off that thick skin. And we're going to have the Devour to protect against this really powerful dive that the Vi brings to the table in the later game.
Yeah, overall, they do have the right tools to try and find more value for the team, right? I feel like this is a composition that has more outs from early, mid, and late game. Like, you have more tools to play all around those three phases in my eyes, and you have better opportunities to try and maximize the value of your champions. Particularly, I think they have a much better 2v2 compared to the previous games in the mid jungle, which could finally enable them to get the control they want for bot side and try and get dragons, put Shogo in a pressure point, allow for him to get free gold, and then carry the game later on the game. I feel like these things for all mains are going to work out much better comparatively this game because they have more tools to try and make them work out.
I definitely think there's a lot to be said there that can be true here. Ole Miss definitely changing up their strategy once again. I do think the difference of not having that Jarvan has the potential to make a big deal here. They are going to take that Maokai into the jungle, so they still get themselves a really high tier jungler. I still think that that's a very powerful pick for Chad. It was his most played in the regular season, despite the fact that some, will consider him to be more of that carry centric player. I think he's going to be able to pilot it super effectively here, and it is going to, I feel, come down to that jungle matchup once again. If he's able to keep on being that huge zoning force that he was on the Jarvan, arguably you could be that even more effectively on the Maokai, right? You don't need Cataclysm if you can just hold people in place with 3 different CC abilities. And if you could be really on point with your Nature's Grasps, you can just deny whole sections of the fight from being able to collapse the way that they want. And this Ole Miss comp, it's so critical that they collapse all at once.
Exactly. As long as you have the right tools of CC to try and lay down, it shouldn't be that difficult to find the targets. And if on one side you have a slow and mobile AD carry that can be collapsed on with the huge amounts of CC that your team has, namely the Aphelios, that's the same story for all means, because you're playing against a Jinx. Yes, the resets and the movement speed can be really valuable to try and skirt around some fights, but in general, as long as you're able to get on top of the Jinx, she is really easy to kill, and that's something that MA can 100% do with the help of the Maokai plus the Urga trying to reach the backline. Will it work out consistently? That's where I find a bit of the difficulty, because there is quite a good amount of CC that they have to go over, plus some champions that are quite beefy in the form of the Bai and the Jax, but overall it's not impossible to find that angle, and I think that for the first time this is going to be such a big bot lane centric matchup, not in the same manner as it was in the previous game, where I do think Shogo was playing really well, but he was playing Yasuo, so it's not the typical AD carry you expect. This time around, both AD carries have tools to hyper carry the game, but the team has to enable them as effectively as possible.
And the AD carry versus AD carry matchup, I think, is a big point to focus on for this series, right? Shogo arguably been one of the best performing AD carries in the ACL, especially in the regular season. I think was so critical to Ole Miss being able to make it to these playoffs in the first place, and has been so good throughout their winners bracket run as well. But you're up against Neo, man. This guy is borderline LCS level. He's been there very recently. I think this is an borderline LCS level bottom lane between him and Dardoch. I've been calling that out for at least a whole split now. They're very good together and very good individually as well. You've got your work cut out for you if you're Shogo, right? This is going to be the biggest challenge that you face in the ACL, arguably a bigger challenge than any bot lane that you face in collegiate for the most part. And they've got to show up. He, so far, has been outperformed by Neo 2 games in a row. We're going to have to see him turn that around in this game number 3 if Ole Miss want to stay in this series.
Exactly, and the narrative feels so nice between these two bot laners. Borderline LCS AD carry about to be able to go into the NACL and try and conquer and showcase his talent up there. And on the other side, the AD carry that hasn't had the same amount of opportunities maybe to be able to showcase his talent in the NACL, still trying to prove that he is deserved of that spot. I think that he is, but hopefully he gets more opportunities next year. But this is one of the best challenges you're going to get, and one of the best opportunities to try and shut down the enemy bot lane. I will say though, I feel like AD carry wise, Shogo has been doing a good amount of work to try and showcase himself. Neo has been edging him out, and I do think that he's been performing much better in the AD carry battle, but a lot of that also comes from the support battle. And I think Dardoch goes unsung in a lot of situations, but his first 2 games in Janna were marvelous. Like, that was a really crisp Janna play coming from a player that we don't typically expect to play the enchanter supports. Dardoch has more of the mental image of the engaged support guy, the one that goes in for the plays, forces the plays around the team, and is able to play around that. But his Janna was incredible, and he was able to get so much value for the team in general in the previous 2 games. Hopefully he can replicate that with the Temkinch, a bit of a different spice than the Janna.
Yeah, I'm at the point where Dardoch's just a great League of Legends player. He can play everything. He can play any position and do it very well. As you know, you think back to his jungle career, even his last split in the LCS. The big narrative then was that he was playing different junglers every game. He was going for all sorts of off-meta stuff and finding a lot of success on it when he was with Dignitas. I think he's been doing that same thing at support this split, right? His first split on the role after swapping over to Mirage, he was playing, I think, a lot more meta stuff, going for those kinds of engaged supports, or, you know, where it called for it, stuff like the Lulu, as that was kind of the meta at the time. But now I think he's really fully come into himself now as a support player in this ACL split, where he's just been playing everything. I mean, he played some Pike games, he played some bot lane Poppy. The ranged supports are drawing bans. The Ashe is getting banned every single game. The Melio's getting banned. He drew a Karma ban and a Renata ban earlier on here. I mean, he's a fantastic enchanter player. He's very dangerous on the engagers. He'll lock a Tom Kench blind. He does not care. And he can play everything under the sun. And it's going to be a big challenge to try to overcome here for Shogo and Rhino. Can't overstate that.
One big thing that I remember from Dardoch just before we go into game is last split. Remember the interview we had with him when we were in the playoffs? I remember his comments about Chad and him role swapping to the support position. I remember he said, if we didn't get a jungler like Chad, I wouldn't have role swap. But because we got Chad, I was able to role swap really effectively. First, giving props to Chad, which I think are deserved because he's a great jungler, but also the fact that he himself gave the OK to the other players, but also took it on himself to become a great support. And I feel like the journey from Dardoch to understanding that and then being able to scale all upwards has been really good. So in general, I really love the transition from him.
Agree, and not to risk jumping the shark there, but that story does have echoes of you think of Perks, right, as the kinds of players
Yeah, to a certain degree.
who have done that same play, right, who have sacrificed their home position to get a really talented player that they thought could level up the team and be willing to role swap. Sven is the other guy, right? Is, you know, where he was willing to move over to support. If
And he did a really good job at that.
A really talented a really talented support player, or a really talented AD carry player. And yeah, I mean, Dardoch finds himself in that same role here. Couldn't ask for a better bot laner at this level of play than Neo to be learning the role alongside. And yeah, I think he's a massive threat in his own right at this point.
Yeah.
We are in a pause, by the way, for those curious. We're not just waxing poetic about Dardoch all day long for funsies. We'll be able to have plenty of time to do that if he keeps up that performance in game. But we do have a little bit of a longer break while we figure out whatever that pause is. Let's move back up to the top lane, though. Another Urgot game for Alorum. I mean, he's putting the tank pants away, man. He's been really willing.
His 2 first games on the Urgot. Actually, I'm not sure.
He played it last week against Lotus Exiles as well.
Okay.
Other than that,
and
he played it once in the regular season. I don't remember against 2, but he had a game on the stats of having played it.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking if he maybe took all the season long for the kind of more tank-oriented style, and then went in with the Urgot game, which I think he played really fine anyway.
Agree. Yeah, I think he was really good on the Urgot as well. I mean, this has been his pocket pick for forever, right?
Yeah.
He's been playing Urgot. Is the 2 pocket picks that I associate with Alorum, if you don't count the Poppy, because the Poppy's kind of like meta, you know, like that's people play Poppy top. He's not the only guy.
I will say more so in the jungle, though. I feel like I like the Maokai, it's more so in the jungle than in the top lane.
Well, then we can say he has 3 pocket picks, right? He's got the Urgot, he's got the Poppy, and he's got the on-hit Nico. And I feel like the on-hit Nico's kind of dead now, ever since they gave her that mini rework. So he's back down to 2.
Yep. It's sad that it died like that to a certain degree. I still think there's maybe one or 2 situations.
I mean, Shape Splitter still does the same thing. It's just like a better champion to play mid lane now.
Yeah, there's 1 or 2 situations where it's probably good, but it's not to the same value. As we see the level 1 now with the pause gone away, it's only Dardoch that it's going to get spotted, and I don't think there's going to be much obtained apart from some vision and maybe a bit of damage onto 1 or 2 members.
What's this, TDS? It's a ward placed down past the river. It's the first time I think this has happened all series at the level 1. These teams have been so passive in the early game, finally trying to make a play, and uh-oh, Uncle Sam, you might just be getting yourself a little too close to danger here. They're calling over Sudsy as well. Alorum's going to start Disdain. I mean, he will be willing to flash Disdain here to get the flash out of Uncle Sam if he thinks he sees a good chance to do it.
Do they need? I think they were playing.
He's keeping a safe distance. He's out of there.
Yeah, I think they're playing for a red buff instead. They are actually. I think they're probably waiting so that they go for the red buff still.
Ooh, Chad, you gotta be careful here, buddy. You're gonna. Oh, he's just snagging the birds, and they don't know. They actually have no idea.
I like the idea here because they don't know that the Maokai is there usually based on how most junglers have been doing things. They tend to path upwards. Like if we could quickly pan to the buy, they tend to path backwards, which means that they go for the rocks. They don't see, oh, he steals the red buff.
No, Chad. He comes on up, he steals away the red buff, and Icelandic hero. Oh no, man, he's gotta be furious.
You have to take your hat off to Chad. He's just playing to his name, legitimately steals the birds in a really smart approach, reading how junglers are pathing nowadays, and then flashes in for the red buff. That is so well executed. Steals the rocks as well, if I'm not wrong. So actually taking away the 3 camps, if they are able to protect the red buff from the buy, which seems to be the case. I don't expect it to be able to actually get there before the Maokai that also recalled. So this is going to be 3 camp start or 4 camp start for the Maokai, and the buy is just going to cry.
Yeah, no, I love the recall here from Chad as well. He's booking it right down towards his own red buff now to prevent the vertical jungling and the cross map. It means he's going to guarantee himself the 3-buff start. It's just beautiful. It's textbook stuff coming on through from Chad here to be able to disrupt what Icelandic Hero was going for in the early game. And all right, well, it's not Icelandic Hero. If it was Icelandic Hero DCing, I might be putting my thoughts towards Rage Quit a little bit. It does appear that it's Neo with the connection issues. They were unpaused already. Let's go.
Yeah, it was quite quick, or at the very least, it looks like it's going to be quite quick, so we're not going to get stuck in eternally here. But the initial pathing, and this is something that we don't tend to get a lot of the opportunities to talk about, but the fact that Chad has been so consistently good, dominating so many junglers, has been really good. Even last week, like talking about, or last week, no, even in their matchup against Fear, a team that we know can be really difficult with Perry, he was putting on such a good show against Perry. I think that it was a contested matchup. He turned around a really bad early game with Bai, ironically, in that game, and able to stabilize really effectively. And I think that this time around, he just finds the early game advantage super well, and now it's on Icelandic Hero to really turn around the bad start.
It definitely is. He's going to have to just play on the backside a little bit. Oh, is going in for the cross map. So we get a... Oh, geez. Oh, boy.
Neo, no.
This is a rough position to be in. Avert your eyes, everybody. I don't think this is going to end well for Neo. I think this pause has come through a little bit too late. He is already taking the rough end of a trade, we could say there. It's going to be bad for him.
Yeah, it's not the most ideal start. Hopefully Neo can work everything out, but with the multiple pauses, I feel like you have to at the very least take a longer one and try and resolve everything out, because at this point it probably is not going to work out with just the first one.
Yeah, here's the other thing, right? We could see, as we paused, Icelandic Hero is going in for the invade. He's trying to go for the vertical jungling anyway. He's working on Chad's red buff while Chad is on the rocks. So they might run into each other there. Chad definitely going to be at a level advantage. I don't remember if Icelandic Hero used the flash in the level 1 or not.
He didn't. He did not.
Okay, so he's got that to try to escape. He's got to try to snag this red buff and bail. Like that's probably his best chance here. As it's real dangerous stuff.
Yeah, overall, it just makes the jungle matchup really weird to try and affront here. I think the Vi is not necessarily going to disappear completely from the game if she reaches level 6 immediately, but now you're really scared about the fact that Chad is closer than ever to level 6 with this start. If he gets red buff and then just get able to play around that initial idea, he just is able to find so much value as he's trying to overfor the bot side. Vi is also coming, but they know about this.
Yeah, Neo survived, lost a lot of HP, but did go on down. The red buff was stolen as Chad pays his attention towards the bottom lane instead, and freeze frame once again. Kooky Crew going aggressive onto Alorum. Alorum does use the disdain to dodge out, but Alorum's got no mana. Kooky Crew could try to push this further if he thinks he's got a solo kill angle. Yeah, all right. Gonna back away. Alorum forced to flash.
Yeah, it was the respect flash, so at the very least, Alorum not going to end up paying the price, but good for Icelandic Hero, able to recover thanks to sealing away that red buff.
Ooh, the revenge.
Still staying close by, yeah.
Revenge angle for Icelandic Hero doesn't get it. Chad wins out again.
It's level 2 steal to Chad being level 3 with 24 CS to his name. This is not looking good for Icelandic Hero, even with the red buff steal. That alleviates a little bit of the pain, right? But in general, it's just complete and utter suffering for the Vi at this point.
Yeah, no, at this point, you're done playing with Maokai, all right? You're done showing up, facing down Chad, trying to win smite fights. I don't even think you can risk that kind of stuff anymore. You know what? You're economy Vi now. You're going to be an ult bot, and you're going to try to make a play on towards Neo. Does land the Vault Breaker. Neo forced to cleanse. Rhino coming in for the collapse. Slows him down with the meeps. And first blood goes to Shogo. Dardoch is able to get one back, but this is going to be a second kill into the Jinx. And Ole Miss has exactly the start they were looking for.
Yeah, even if Bai is utterly crying for the start that she had, plays it off really, really well, utilizing the Bard in a really effective manner, and this means that for the first time, they not only get the first blood, but it goes into the pockets of one of their most important members, onto Shogo, starting off really, really well in the game, and also forcing out both summoners from Neo, which means that future plays can still be managed out really, really well if you're able to get on top of the AD carry from Mirage Alliance.
And what a beautiful salvage there from Icelandic Hero. Bets it all on the bot lane play and makes it work as Kruk gets his recall interrupted, and he is not long for this world. No pathway out of here for the Jacks. Gonna hold on to the flash at the very least.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe he forces the flash, but honestly, not worth it at all. They are able to escape to get the kill at the end onto Kruk, and he will teleport back into the lane. That's about what we're going to see anyway. And also a bit of the gold plating going in favor of Neo. So the overall gold is going to stay not only quite close, but actually a bit in favor of the side of Mirage Alliance. But I like that both teams, even in this third game, they are still trying to find plays. Even with the bad starts, they are looking aggressively for something in their favor. Dardoch needs to be careful here. Maybe
slow comes through from Dardoch on towards Rhino, but the supportal combat not going to end up favoring either side. Icelandic Hero is hovering around there, going for a little invade onto the birds himself, and actually this should be easy pickings with Chad over on the other side of the map.
Yeah, Chad is not really close by, but at the same time they don't have the flash on Icelandic Hero, so it's kind of difficult to actually force the play in the mid lane, and the dragon, even with knowing that Chad is not close by, I don't think that they have enough damage just yet to actually try and force it. They are moving around close by, and they are maybe going to look now that the Syndra is backed away as well.
Absolutely here.
Is it the first dragon they get all series long? I think they got one in the first game, right?
I think so. Hard to tell. That's a quiz I'm not ready for, but going to at the very least be able to pick up this one. Ole Miss get themselves a dragon and can at least have that to hang their hat on. Still a gold lead for Mirage cross map. It's got to be mostly centered on Shad, but I think they're pretty happy with where they've allocated the gold on the side of Ole Miss, knowing that they will be on those item spikes for Shogo before too long, and hoping to keep those dragon trains rolling as Chad finds Rhino, but Rhino should have the magical journey. He should be able to just walk on out of here.
Yeah, nothing much out of the ordinary with that play. Nothing much should happen after that. And the game has kind of slowed down quite a bit after how it started, although Chad is taking quite a bit of damage, but probably more than likely not going to die. He has his flash back again, so shouldn't be in that difficult of a spot. And I think that for how the game started, once again, I think Icelandic Hero managing out really effectively the situation. Chad is going to try and steal maybe the blue buff here, but it's not at a spot where Icelandic Hero is feeling that bad anymore. Oh, close.
Ooh, very, very close, actually, but going to be able to dive on out and trading back and forth here. As Dardoch is making an approach towards Uncle Sam here. Ooh, goes in for the official dive. The abyssal dive. Will be able to land a little bit of damage as this wave crashes in. Uncle Sam going to be denied a bunch of this wave due to a nice roam from Dardoch, and Rhino trying to collapse, going to get himself stunned up. Ooh, a very unfortunate interaction there with the twisting advance. Rhino gets to pull himself to the other side and leave Chad hanging.
I didn't know that was how it's supposed to work. I thought you just get the follow-up and that's it. Dardoch taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, Dardoch gonna get pushed over the wall there, and Kruk making a flash play on a Sudsy of his own. Uncle Sam flashes in with a pop blast of the full lockdown, and Ole Miss will get themselves a kill in mid.
Yeah, we're seeing much better moves coming in all around from Ole Miss, forcing the plays onto the mid lane, knowing that the Syndra, even with flash, can bird escape. Icelandic Hero, wait, he's forced on.
Ooh, flash away. Icelandic Hero going to be coming on in with that cease and desist. The follow-up damage available now as Kruk arrives to the play, and Alorum is down. No response kill found. Ole Miss finding some play in game number 3.
Yeah, really well done in general. A little bit too aggressive by Alarim, thinking that he could blow out Icelandic Hero before he collects the referral. Doesn't get either and actually ends up getting punished. And a lot of gold going back into the pockets of Ole Miss. They now are in the driver's seat and are going to force with the referral. I would argue, maybe trying to go a little bit into the mid lane with the Nico, trying to open up the space of the map a little bit more. Or the Jinx getting much more gold value. Get Shogo as far ahead as you can so that he can carry out the game.
That's absolutely their game plan here, and they're plenty happy to be getting some additional kills onto Icelandic Hero and Kooky Krook. They're going to be crucial parts of playing out these team fights later on as well, and having a side lane threat, never a bad thing. Clearing out these waves, looking to pressure on towards plates, trying to make sure that Shogo is going to be in as favorable of a position as possible coming into these later fights. 2 minutes to go on to this next dragon. Delorem finds himself with some alone time in the top lane and is going to be able to pick himself at least one plate, maybe even looking for a second.
I could try and force a bit more. Chad coming in on the side. He's going to find Rhino, but I don't think nobody's going to actually end up dying here. It's going to be a bit of smite.
Yeah, just going to keep hitting him with the meeps, hit him with the Cosmic Binding as well. Try to chunk out onto this Maokai as best as you can, but he's going to be able to heal up quite a bit. He's got the Giant's Belt for the additional tankiness, as well as that red buff ticking away. And again, Chad not following him quite once. It depends on if you touch him or not. Once you reach the champion, you bind him up. So there's like a little timing there where if you time it right, you could follow him, but just a little too quick on the fingers, arguably, as Dardoch going to get stunned on up, the root going to come on across, but the Nature's Grasp going to be able to keep them held in place, and everything going on to Icelandic Hero, starting to melt on down. The shield for the passive not going to be enough as Neo is able to pick up that kill, and Shogo is still standing strong. Uncle Sam coming in on the flank, going to be able to focus on towards Chad. They're looking to get Shogo excited, but they haven't gotten one yet. Finally getting the first kill. Shogo raining through the rockets, flashes into Neo, gets Sunsy as well. It's a triple kill to Shogo as Ole Miss's AD carry has shown up to play in game number 3.
Ole Miss played that off so well. I will say though, really weird, the Bauer timing onto Neo kind of messed up a bit of the damage. I thought he was going to the Bauer chat, maybe misclicked onto Neo, but at the end Shogo able to get free reign in the fight there, gets 5 kills after that play, and now the AD carry from Ole Miss has the opportunity to shine as much as possible. As we see a bit of fighting up there in the top lane, but it's not going to turn into much. And if we get the replay, maybe we can see how it kind of went that way forward instead of Ole Miss, because the way that it started, I felt like maybe MA could have managed it out much better.
And Mirage Alliance, you have been on easy mode this series so far, but now you face Shogo in his true form. 5-0 on the Jinx. Kraken Slayer completed. Well and truly the most powerful champion in the game. And you are going to have to find a way to shut him down if you want to be able to close out this series here.
At the very least, I will say, oh wait, Chad, he's getting collapsed on, should be fine here. They are going to just throw out the referral. I will say at the very least, Dardoch is in a really weird spot. Neo as well.
Oh, over the wall, on towards Neo. Icelandic Hero turns it back around on him, and Neo's down already. There's the full all-out throwing on to Uncle Sam. Not going to be able to take him out either, and now Sunsy going to be caught up as well. This is all just more gold to the Shogo bank, as Kratos is going to be taken on down. That's going to be Sunsy dropping. Chad going to be the next one, and nothing left for Dardoch to support. He'll be pushed out of lane.
Yeah, now everything is out of control for the side of MA. They've lost multiple fights. Really weird position there by both Neo and Dardoch, especially with no ultimate on the Tam Kench. That means that there was barely an opportunity to stop it. And Shogo about to get the turret, almost gets it, just needs one more out attack. They don't get the full play value, but they get so much gold into this AD carry. Now it's going to be a big difference maker.
Absolutely here, and once he gets the cash out on all this gold, he is going to be a monster in these upcoming fights. Nearly able to take down the tower as well. That's going to be first turret gold. Arguably should just come on up there, have Rhino or Icelandic here or somebody tank it from him so he can get that first turret gold. But here comes Alorum trying to punish the greed. Shogo coming in. There's going to be the stealth of minion form of Uncle Sam to get the lockdown, to hold him still for Shogo to rain through the damage. Super Mega Death Rocket nearly takes down 2. The turret's going to fall, and the resets from Mirage will not be enough. Icelandic Hero pulled in, feared beyond death, and Mirage Alliance will escape with their lives.
Teleport from behind by Satsi. Maybe you can get the kill into Shogo here.
Wants to at least pick back up something. It is going to be the trade back. Sudsy going to be able to get one, but now Shogo down off the board. Can Uncle Sam equalize? Taken so low, though. Gonna have to back on off.
A big shutdown in favor of the Syndra. Not a bad trade at the end of the day, but it's still always running the show. They get the turret kill, they get a couple of kills as well up down there in the mid lane, plus the turret from Cookie Crew. All around, the game is chaos, but it's chaos favoring Ole Miss because Shogo with 5-1-4, he's still so big as an AD carry, and he's really close to reach the IE spike.
And that's going to be the big difference maker once he's on 2 items to be able to fight in some of these skirmishes. He's just going to be able to melt through folks so quickly. And look at him compared to Neo right now. Neo's on 1 item. Shogo nearly on 2.
And how are they going to find this sort of angles to allow for Neo to come back, right? Like, yes, you can try and kill the Jinx without depending on Neo, but you have to find angles for Neo to come back into the game. The Philios can be maybe not to the same degree, but at the very least comparable in some aspects to the Jinx. He can carry out late game team fights as well. You just need to find the angles for him to recover into the game and be able to get the hyper carry. But at this point, Shogo is feeling completely great because he's not going to be stopped at all. And also I want to give a quick shout out to Asdanic Hero in the game because he adapted into going for the Campok Chainsaw, I think it's the name.
Campok Chainsword, yeah.
Yeah, I think in general it's not a good item in general, but he recognized that he was really far behind in terms of gold and that his value was going to be close to negligible. So he just opted into a really cheap item that can be useful at this point, and then later on maybe it's going to be completely useless. But at the very least for this point of the game, that's going to have much more value than not having anything at all.
Agree with you there. It's good to cut the healing of the Maokai too. At the very least, you're getting a little something extra in there that you might not be able to bring to the table in general pure damage sense. We'll want to get that Divine Sunder eventually, as you're up against 2.5 tanks there. You count that Urgot as a pretty tanky member as well. You're going to want to be able to work your way through those health bars, but definitely getting themselves like a little bit of relief from being able to finish an early item is Rhino. Collapsing on towards Olorum, should have access to that ultimate as well to just hold him in place. Uncle Sam coming up as well. With that disdain down, Rhino not going to commit it. He doesn't want to use the Tempered Fate. He wants to hold on to it for a potential team fight.
Yeah, I think it's respectable, especially with the dragon coming up soon. You don't want to haphazardly throw out your ultimate. It does mean that even if Alarim doesn't die, they do have pressure onto the turret, and they probably will be able to get this next turret as well. And the overall control of the map is in much more favor for Ole Miss. It's on MA to try and find some values back into their favor because it's not going to be easy. Oh, Rhino.
Ooh, Rhino has to flash away. Magical Journey over the wall. Uncle Sam going to use the Pop Blossom to dissuade them. There's going to be the double stun coming through from Rhino into the Tempered Fate, and everything is set up for the full combo. Dardoch going to devour up his jungler to try to keep him safe, but there's the cease and desist. And Chad did not move anymore. Cookie Crew gonna look to chase him farther. Rhino over the wall. Shogo looking for the resets. Gets excited on the Dardoch. The stun from Cookie Crew gonna get themselves a second. And advancing forward are Ole Miss, looking to see if they can clean up the rest of this fight. Teleport towards mid from Uncle Sam to save any trade from coming through for Neo. And the Rift Herald means this is gonna be an inner turret.
Yeah, it's going to be another turret, and it's also thanks to the numbers advantage that they at the end are able to force the fight in their favor. It's also holding Neo in spot, and I think Neo may end up dying here because Bai is coming up really shortly.
Yeah, although with the fancy feet flashing forward, but Icelandic Hero puts him in the ground. Ole Miss 4 or 6K gold in the lead now. Are fully in the driver's seat. They have found themselves their game plan. Game number 1 was too passive. Game number 2 was too aggressive. This one is just right.
Yeah, it's working out perfectly for them, and they are going to try and keep on finding avenues to make the game work out for them. I want to give a special shout out now, but I want to give huge credits to Uncle Sam for the transition in the games, because first game went horribly for him. Second game began mattering a bit more, and the Nico find more value. And this, finally, in the third game, he has been able to stand up with the Nico pick that he consistently went for in the draft so far, and it's been finding a lot of value, marvelously connecting into team fights, able to control the Syndra a bit better, and now it's becoming a pick that maybe you will have to consider going forward. I don't think it's going to merit a ban, but at the very least, it will probably change the approach from MA.
Yeah, and just been able to find way better ultimates without that Jarvan interrupting him.
Yeah.
and definitely showing why the pick is still so valued. If you can get it in a slightly different situation, great job for the first 2 games for Mirage to be able to play around that, but now that they don't have that option, they really seem to be struggling in some of these fights. A great combo there from Uncle Sam and Rhino in that last fight just keeps members held in place for so very long that the rest of Ole Miss can collapse and they can wipe the fight.
Just works out so well for them. And now with the coming fights in the near future, you have 4 minutes for the Soul in favor of Ole Miss, and then the Baron also standing up in the map. You have to take so many considerations as a May, and I'm not sure if you're going to get enough time to actually be able to play it out. Oh, Dardock is that here.
The Tempered Fate interrupting that abyssal dive. Icelandic Hero will claim the kill. Crook on the side, getting spotted by multiple members, but Magical Journey, magical it is, as it's popped up Neo out of nowhere, disappearing to the side of Ole Miss. A triple kill to Icelandic Hero. You can steal his buffs, but he's gonna steal your life as moving forward on towards Sudsy, the last remaining member. Mirage Alliance desperately trying to hold on. Scatter the Weak back away will buy him some crucial seconds, but the turrets are doomed.
You may scatter them, but you're the one running away. Oh, wait, Shogo.
Shogo
Enough damage.
Whew. It was nearly enough damage, though. I mean, one more item, and that's going to be all she wrote. Rapid Fire Cannon or Rinan's Hurricane coming on through before too long, and Shogo will be resetting across all of these fights.
This actually stopped the Baron buff, if I'm not wrong, because they tried to force a bit too much onto the base. Baron buff is not going to get collected, and that at the very least gives a bit of more window for MA to maybe find the kill. But that previous fight really could have worked so well for Mirage Alliance, but at the end it's Ole Miss that takes advantage of it. And a lot of that comes from the fact that Alarim fails with the Fear Beyond Death, doesn't connect onto the Jack, so they cannot get the immediate execution, and then also the bar teleport, like you were mentioning, Gordo, amazingly well positioned, find the perfect angle onto Neo, and since Dardock is not close by, they cannot stop Neo from dying. So far this game, the Tankage hasn't really worked out that well for Dardock, hasn't stopped Neo from dying a lot of the times, and it's been a difference maker into trying to make the Aphelios be worthwhile.
It's so far away. It's so tough to make that Aphelios worth it. He's been farming solo for so long.
Yeah.
And he's gotten up to his second item, like you said. But yeah, has just not been able to find the team fights. His front line's way squishier. The demonic embrace rush from Chad biting him a little bit here as he's got no tank items. And he's so far behind Icelandic Hero now.
Ironically, after how the game started, you would have never guessed this was going to be the outcome after 22 minutes. Icelandic Hero was so far down, and now he's so far ahead.
Definitely. And now, yeah, about a 3k gold lead individually to Icelandic Hero. And now taking control of this bottom river, Icelandic Hero, he'll take any fight he can get. Chad, sure, not nearly tanky enough to stand up to Shogo. There's going to be the Tempered Fate blocking them off the rest of the way. Sees assist connects out of Neo, the Pop Blossom onto everybody, interrupting the Abyssal Dive. It's a wipe for Ole Miss. They cannot be stopped in this game number 3. And Alorum is the last one standing for Mirage. Will not be able to find his way out of here. He's stuck on the wrong side of the map, and Kooky Krook, he's going to take this one single-handedly while the rest of the team work their way through the Barret.
Yeah, at the very least, it's not looking like it's gonna be a 3-0 in favor of Mirage Alliance, as Alarim is trying to survive for as long as possible, but I would believe it's probably better for you to die before they just come back and kill you anyway. Yeah, he just kind of helped them come back to base after they killed him.
Yep. Guiding them perhaps to the direction they don't want to go. They have Baron recalls now, so they would have been able to get back there pretty quick anyway. But now they are on the march towards the Dragon Soul. 30 seconds to go on that one. Alorum gonna have to TP as soon as he respawns if he wants to participate in this fight.
And now they have to look for the last dragon. Well, they technically could have just forced onto the base, but I feel like they are taking the slow, steady approach just because they know that they are in the back foot. Like, they know if they lose here, they are eliminated. As Kooky Krook, Wade.
Nice double stun there, but they're going to take this fight one way or the other. Flashing forward, everything dumped into Sudsy, and Sudsy hits the ground. Mirage Alliance are routed once again as Ole Miss clean up to the junglers off the map. The Soul is easy pickings, but they might have bigger prey in mind. They're looking for the base.
Well, they can try and just go for the finish here, Gordo. There's just the turrets standing in their way. There's just a couple of champions standing in their way, and they have their big AD carry available to kill everyone just like this.
Yeah, Shogo, he makes it look easy at this point. Way too far ahead. Yeah, take me on, Neo. The ace comes through. Look at how fast Shogo's attacking. This is ridiculous. As he's tanking out up the turret, we'll have to wait for the minions to finish it on off, and that might actually put him in a little bit of a vulnerable spot up against the respawn Sudsy, but he positions behind his front line. He dodges out on the Nature's Grasp, and he regens everything with just the Doran's Blade sustain. It's gonna be Sudsy trying to defend in the fountain. One more minion there to keep up the siege. And actually, they're out of the wave. The game might not end here. Ole Miss may have played a little too fast and loose with it. They will be able to take down Dardoch. Here comes the second minion wave. And finally, they should be able to get out of the base, but the respawns have come through from Mirage. They have a chance to extend this game further, but Kooky Krook with a double stun wants to stop it here and now. Icelandic Hero, he's gonna go down to Neo, and the rest of Ole Miss have got to back away. They've bitten off too much. They can't chew it, and they're going to have to give Mirage some time to come back.
Yeah, they still have a bit of opportunity. Neo's trying to go for the extra kill, but I don't think he's going to be able to get it. Actually, maybe he will.
No, yeah, it's another kill over to Neo, and now Sudsy's gonna get one on Uncle Sam. Okay, guys, we've given a lot of gold over to the Mirage Alliance carries. Let's chill out for a second.
Wait, can Shogo secure the dragon before it gets... Oh, he gets it. He gets the soul point. That was actually close.
It was close. He does manage to secure it, and now he's still taking the fights. Are you kidding me, Shogo? Just get out of here, man. But he's going to try to take the fight instead. He gets one reset. Looking for the second. Neo's able to finally shut him down. That's 1,000 gold shut down into the Aphelios' pocket.
It was soul though. It's Infernal Soul for the 3 shutdowns that Neo got. I think he got the shutdown from Vi, he got the shutdown from Bard, and he got the shutdown from the Jinx. As Chad may potentially die here. Yeah, he's probably dead.
Gonna be the next member up on the menu. Kooky Krook coming in with the collapse, and Chad's got nowhere to go. He's trying to blend in with the trees of the jungle, but they know exactly where he is. An Icelandic Hero claims the kill.
Yeah, they still are getting value even with how much gold Neo got back for himself, and there's still an open nexus. So technically speaking, they don't even need to force a fight. They can just wait until they walk into the base with the super minions on hand and then just try and end the game after that. The game is still not favorable for MA at all, but they are trying to hold on for dear life as much as they can.
Yeah, I mean, this one is pretty much done and dusted, but you never know. You can get yourself some more shutdowns like that, and you know, Neo can play a real team fight now. He's got 3 items, but they're going to look to start this on towards Alorum instead to stay in to get away. But Rhino coming on in with the collapse, focusing everything in towards this Urgot, but he will get devoured up by Dardoch and taken out to a safe distance. Shogo is not here for this part of the fight, and that means Mirage Alliance can take it nice and slow and back on off. Now regrouped Ole Miss looking to keep the siege going. There's going to be the pop loss about a 2, and Sudsy is gone. That's a first reset on towards Shogo. Tempered Fate lands on the 3, and Shogo can just rain hell through the rest of the Mirage Alliance roster. A double kill over to Kooky Krook as Ole Miss will close out game 3 and take us to game number 4.
It wasn't the end of the road for Ole Miss. It's at the very least one more game, but they seem to have woken up. They finally find the right recipe for this 3rd game, and maybe looking into the 4th game, they can try and replicate it as best as possible. But the outcome of the game feels like something we weren't expecting at all with how it started. Icelandic Hero completely behind, Kooky Krook getting pushed, Uncle Sam not really finding a lot of value, but they are able to find the right fights, the right place, and Shogo carries the game out with a huge amount of gold that he gets.
And so much credit has to go to Icelandic Hero on that one. Set so behind in the early game, looking like it was already going to be over, but chooses to pivot towards the bottom lane, gets a double kill into Shogo's pockets, and that sets up the rest of the game to be all about the Jinx. Ole Miss finally get the chance to play towards their play style, and they look way better doing it.
And I love that particular point coming in from Icelandic Hero because he was really far behind. He lost so many camps, able to at the very least to steal the red buff from Chad, which made a bit more easier to try and play out the game. But the crucial point is that bottling gang played out with Rhino as well, setting up so perfectly for Shogo. And this is also the point that I'm looking forward for in the next game, where I think they probably are going to take away red side once again for MA, and they are going to try and play for the last pick support once again. The difference in the last pick for the supports has been so important so far this series, and I think that it's something that MA wants to get once again in their favor.
That's definitely going to be what we are looking out for. As what a big game for Shogo there, and Ole Miss looking like they have some life in them coming into this game. Yep. Number 4. Plus, we're looking to get results from the other series. TDS, it looks like it was a 3-0 for Peach Cats. CCG Esports going to be eliminated. Peach Cats going to be waiting in lower semifinals for whoever comes out on top in this series.
It looks like once again we picked the right series because we get the one that goes farther than 3 games. So it works out. I take it.
Absolutely does. So we're going to take a quick break here, but we are coming in with a game number 4. Stay tuned. We'll be back with that draft in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's broadcast of the Aegis Champions League, where we have got a game number 4. We picked the right series, TDS. We're going more than just a 3-0.
Yeah, it's not going to be the stump that unluckily for CCG occurred. Bitch Cats going to the next round, but this sets up a bit more expectation now looking forward. Is Olmis going to amount to make the reverse sweep happen? Is Mirage Alliance going to stop this from being a slight blimp in their all-around great run so far? I think the only game that they lost after the apart from the fear was this one. So already losing 2 games in the lower bracket round, not the worst outcome possible, but it certainly does show that they are able to bleed. And I think Olmis may have found a really good answer to some of the picks. The main thing though here, and something that I want to look out for is Olmis going to stay with the Jinx? Are they going to try and first pick it here instead of opting into taking the Nico once again?
Yeah, definitely here is... You know, the other thing is they lost a game to CCG Futures as well. I mean, Mirage Alliance, they had a rough start, I think, to their whole playoffs run, both on the lower bracket side and on the upper bracket side. Have really come back since then, I think. The last couple weeks especially, first 2 games here included, have looked a way cleaner. But now Ole Miss finding, you know, maybe a little bit of a gap in the armor here. They look to see what they can do in game number 4. Sticking on that blue side, Mirage Alliance, that means they chose red. They seem to think that that's where they're going to be a little bit more comfortable. Going to be looking to see a little bit of a reprisal to the first 2 games drafts. So they're keeping that Senna ban. The Senna Callista Oriana has been what they're keeping on the red side. The Varus and the Ashe will be kept. I think Ole Miss, they've got to keep this Jarvan ban. They've been unable to beat the Jarvan.
Unless they want to first pick it themselves, but I feel like Ole Miss were the ones that banned it away in the previous time, so I'm not sure if it's going to be themselves banning away or taking away the Jarvan if they leave it open. It's going to be pretty equal bans to the previous 3 games for the first 4, and now the Jarvan added on top of that. So yeah, I think they want to get the Jinx in this first pick for Shogo once again.
Definitely. There's going to be the Jarvan ban that we expected, and it's going to be first pick Nico. It's first pick Nico all day, every day.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised, and don't get me wrong, I think Uncle Sam has 100% improved all series long. His 3rd game Nico was much better than the 1st game Nico. The problem is that I feel like at this point, Mirage Alliance really doesn't care about the Nico. Even if it performs well, it's just an extra in general, nothing out of the ordinary that you have to be 100% worried about. And I feel like Shogo's Jinx was a much bigger, impactful champion in the previous game compared to the Nico. So it's surprising that they don't go for it this time around. As we see Emmy securing the Jinx themselves, probably going to save the support pick for last, so they can take the Syndra once again here if they want to replicate a Satsi pick, or if they want to go for something else, there could be other champions that they are looking forward to.
Absolutely is now going to be a 2nd pick for Mirage. Do they want to take a mid laner? Yeah, they're just going to lock the Syndra right here. They've been playing this matchup every single game, and they like how it's been working out for them.
Exactly. If it's working out, why change it? I don't think it's worth enough to try and take away the champ that's been working out so far. Yes, the previous game was a bit weirder, but I do think that the Syndra is completely fine against the Nico once again. And now for the last pick here, I think probably they opt into the Jax once again to try and take it away instead of letting it be banned. And same for the Affiliate. So they are willing to handshake the same matchup that they had in the previous game that they won on comparatively.
Yeah, the question is going to be the support, I think. What do you want to pair that on up with? I mean, for the Aphelios plus Tom Kench did not seem to work out last game, but they have the opportunity to take something with a little higher prio here. They could go for something like the Melio. Instead, they feel like they want to run back the Vi, and they will lock it in.
Okay. Yeah, and I honestly like the Vi Nico combo. Worked out amazingly well the previous game. Once again, shouting out the performance from Mirage Alliance themselves on the Vi Nico when they faced Fear. So it's a combo that we've seen worked out to a really good amount of success. Not going to be a lot of champions stopping them at this point, so maybe they can try and replicate that success from the previous game. As we see the Nocturne, okay, I like actually this attempt here. Could have been them taking away another, like, straight up tank in the jungle or something like that to try and stop it. But the good part about the Nocturne here is the paranoia value. You don't need to actually commit to any play. As long as you press paranoia, you stop all misses play, and that in and of itself is already so much valuable.
It really, really is here, and it's been a favorite of Mirage for quite a bit here. It's very often been paired up with the Nico, I think more often than not. Instead, now it's going to be picked into the Nico, but still think it's going to be a powerful pick for them, and they have a lot of different selections they can try to make happen alongside it. Does open them up to support bans now coming on through Mirage Alliance. They decide to ban away the Jax for the first time tonight, so deciding, hey, we don't want to keep playing Jax Urgot. We're going to take that one off of Kooky Krook and see if we can push him out of something he's a little bit less comfortable with.
And the more I look at this, if there's no ban coming through, I could see the Poppy being the choice here for Alarim, actually. Although with the Poppy pick could end up turning into the Olaf or the Trundle, like we were mentioning before. So I'm kind of interested in seeing how the top lane also goes, looking forward to it. But with the Jax taken away and with a lot of the support bans coming through here, I'm expecting maybe to say the last big support for Dardoch in this matchup as well.
There's a big chance here they could ban away the Trundle, and then I don't think Alorum plays the Olaf, but now they're going to go for a support path anyway. And Dardoch says, anyway, thank you, everybody. You've given me a chance to pick a Bard again. So he is going to lock that in as soon as he gets the chance. It's going to be Jinx Bard to the bottom lane. Miss now with an opportunity to go in for the counter pick, as well as a chance to blind their top laner. Will it be something more traditional like the Renekton? They can't go for the Jax again, so gonna have to be something different for Kooky Krook.
Maybe the Renekton, I feel like it's much more comfortable for Kooky Krook than going for something a bit more tankier. The Aatrox could be the option as well. The Thresh, a much more consistent pairing to the Phyllis that we've seen, and the K'Sante, it's a champion that we've seen quite a bit, but not a lot of times. So even though it worked out to a certain degree, it's not like it's going to be that consistent of a champion that where he was before with super strong and all that. With the Olaf coming in, we were expecting this. We knew it was going to happen. It's going to be the Trundle for Alarim, and we're going to see how much or how true is it, the value that it comes from the Trundle. I will say though, I love the Pillar. The Pillar of Ice just makes every engage be completely messed up by the side of Olmis. Like, by engage, even though it's uninterrupted, you can stop the ensuing engage. Then Nico, you stop the initial engage. Then Olaf, you just stop him from running completely forward because you put a path in his way. So overall, the Trundle just has that much value in general trying to stop them.
And I see a big opportunity here for a fun interaction, TDS.
Okay.
You can Trundle Pillar people out of Dark Passage. If you get the good opportunity to do it, when somebody snags the lantern, you can stop the mid-transit if you perfectly place the pillar. I want to see it, Alorum. That's my challenge to you. That's your opportunity to go for the big counter pick here and to make a big mechanical outplay.
That goes into the hand stiff that Alarim talked before, right? So if he can pull it off, that would certainly be a bit of a hand stiff going into the game. But apart from just the Trundle and the exciting, I feel like one of the most exciting top lane matchups we've had so far, even if it turns into a CS battle, it's one of the most exciting matchups we've had. The rest of the map looks pretty consistent. Mid lane matchups staying the same. Jungle a bit more carry oriented, but I like the dynamic that it's going to be created there. And then once again, focusing on the bot lane, the fact that you have double range against range and technically melee, but range in the form of the Thresh, it's going to be kind of interesting. And also the fact that you can try and just force your play with the pick potential that both the Thresh and the Bard give to the team.
For sure here, Shogo taking his pick, and I really want to see what this Olaf's going to be able to do. It's been a favorite of Kooky Krook's in the past, but Alorum has hyped up this Trundle counter, and so have teams playing against Alorum, frankly. I mean, they ban this Trundle preemptively to set up for the Olaf, and then force Mirage to ban the Olaf in turn. So, I mean, this is his big counter pick towards that menace in the top lane, and this is his chance to prove that it is all it's chalked up to be. If this is a win for Kooky Krook, though, I think that really changes things about the draft. Now the Olaf is like a really big kind of must-ban pick because even your Trundle counter pick doesn't work for it.
it's a lot of, it's really dependent on that, and and that always make the band dynamics really interesting. And I also think it changes up a bit of how you approach as a main, not only in the Trundle Olaf matchup, but also now the buy Nico could become a really big issue. Do you ban it away? Do you ban away the Filios once again against Shogo, because Shogo for the first time got his hands on a second AD carry that it's not the Jinx, and he can try and showcase himself on that. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic looking forward for this game, and potentially, if they win it, a game 5. But also, the fact of the matter is that Ole Miss still has their backs on the wall. They are one game away from losing and getting completely eliminated, even after their great run in upper bracket. So they have to pull all the stops here, because if not, they are going to be eliminated. And May has at the very least a bit more of a leeway, a bit more of a caution to try things out here, try and play it out, and survive for as long as possible, or try and get the win here and just get over with.
Absolutely here, and you're gonna need to be able to beat everybody if you want to make it all the way to that final. You got to face Peach Cats on Friday, one way or the other, if you do end up winning out on this series. So gonna be a big challenge up and coming there. Shout out to Peach Cats, by the way. Shout out to Isles, we'll say our second ACL to LCS promotion. ACL effect, baby. You could say it's also simultaneous with Meech, so that they can tie as being the first two ACL to LCS promotions, but Isles at least gets to stay with us. At least, yeah, seems like it. I think he played tonight.
The important part is that we're pretty much confirmed that ACL is the true path to pro, not NACL. So if you want to go to pro, you have to play ACL, pretty much.
Yeah, definitely. Their NACL performances are in Isles' case, they're in their account, or in Isles' case, previous academy performances, since he hasn't gotten to play in an ACL before. Yeah, I mean, I'm giving it all to ACL. I refuse. Some may call it cope, including Norm in the chat right now. And get out of here, man. You don't. It's ACL. It's ACL to LCS path.
Yeah, we don't like that sort of common norm. Even if you win here and I become biased for Mirage Alliance, I still don't like that sort of comment. But apart from giving the credit to Isles here and knowing and taking away from the joke, I do like the fact that we're seeing like more players, even if they are ACL, NACL, or anything like that, join the league, and we celebrate their success anyway. So if something like that keeps on happening, I'm going to be excited for every players that do go upwards. And then keeping ourselves with the series, knowing what it's on stake here for Ole Miss, for MA defending their championship. They don't want to throw any game away anymore. They want to keep on climbing and reaching that grand final. And for the players, they want to keep showcasing themselves as much as possible, because NACL is still around the corner, right? Like, yes, LCS promotion is always great, but NACL is another route, and this is the perfect opportunity because teams haven't been announced yet. Could be a bit of an opening for any of these players to finally reach the NACL and then be closer to that grand stage.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot to be playing for here. Mirage have already kind of made their way in, but yeah, there's plenty to be played for still for all these squads. More and more eyes getting on them as they get deeper and deeper into these ACL playoffs. And props to Ole Miss for being able to come back and deny the clean sweep, but they have got a long reverse sweep road ahead of them. They are only 1/3 of the way done, and they are going to have to pull off that sort of win 2 more times if they want to eliminate Mirage, our reigning champs, and move on to face Peach Cats on Friday. See if they're going to be able to do it, if this Aphelios Thresh lane is going to be the secret. I do know Rhino's a big Thresh guy. I do got to call it out. We haven't gotten to talk about it, but I remember Rhino's Thresh when he was on like Team Liquid Academy. He's a pretty good Thresh player. He's got quite a bit of Thresh games under his belt, and I'm very excited to see him pilot it coming into this game number 4.
It was also picked into the Bard. We talked about the previous game having that support counter pick be really valuable, and this time around it's the Thresh picked into the Bard, which could make that a bit of a different dynamic down there in the bot lane. The bot lane, we've kept the hype so much this series, and I think it stays true, because every time 180 carry pops off, you can see that it was thanks to the help of the support, but how the team kind of set everything around them. And I feel like this is going to be a similar scenario where you have clear strengths for both sides, 80 carries that can hyper carry in the late game, and any misstep could be an extra inch that they get to just be able to carry the whole game. So I'm really excited to see how Neo does, how Shogo does, and how the support matchup ends up developing.
Absolutely. As we are on to the Rift for game number 4. Ole Miss down 1-2 up against Mirage. Mirage still 1 win away from making it to top 4 in the Aegis Champions League.
and the start. It's not going to be another level 1. Are we going to see, like in the previous game, someone actually get vision inside of the enemy jungle, Gordo? It was the first game that we got that.
It might be. I mean, that's the recipe so far for Ole Miss. I've seen 100% of games where they've invaded and laid down a ward at an enemy buff, they have won. It doesn't matter that the early jungle interaction completely disfavored them. They got absolutely blasted in that. But who cares? They won the game. That's the recipe.
Honestly speaking, I feel like the previous game was so well managed by Ole Miss, and I think that it was huge props to them for how they played it out, because any other game where your jungler starts like that, it's doomed. Like, it's pretty much over with how the start went on. But Ole Miss played it out really, really well. They managed out a lot of the situations accordingly, and importantly, I think Icelandic Hero recognizing the right places where he needed to go into and take advantage of, and he played it off really, really well. As we see an invade into stealing the red buff potentially to start of the game. Really like this move by MA.
Absolutely. Here's they're going to be starting on towards that enemy bird camp, and it looks like they'll be able to snag it with ease. And we saw from last game, Chad just took that whole jungle quadrant, and it looks like he's going for that again here, stealing away the birds, starting on the enemy red, and that's going to go into a Krugs, go into a reset, go into his own red buff, and look for the 3 buff once again.
Once again, another game where we see the start from Chad just being really, really good onto Icelandic Hero, and he needs to try and find ways to recover. He didn't suffer as much because he has a really good early start, but he's going to lose all his bot lane jungle, and then the bot lane feels like it's going to be pushed into Neo and Dardoch, which means that trying to set up a dive probably going to be really difficult, not going to be managed accordingly either, and the gank timing is probably not going to be the best. This actually could be a really good gank timing for the side of Mirage Alliance.
Ooh, hook on towards Dardoch, but yeah, Chad coming in from behind, and Shogo immediately has to try to make this flash happen. He gets over the wall, but Chad's going to follow him, and Rhino can't get to him in time. First blood picked up by Dardoch.
Really well managed out. Icelandic Hero waiting on the side here could end up forcing a little bit and going for the gank, but I feel like Satsi has the right idea of where the buy could be. The gank really well played, perfectly managed, just going to be a steal from the side of Icelandic Hero to try and take away some camps up there on the top side. And then I would argue the only bad thing about how the gank went is the fact that Chad didn't get the kill. But beggars can't be choosers. You get what you're able to get in that play, and they're able to show go already in the back foot, particularly blowing some summoners as well. Ooh.
Icelandic Hero getting chased away by a Lord Scavenging, going to that from Icelandic Hero, nowhere left to go, flashing away a Lord, but follow him and pick up his first kill, flashes all over the place, as Kiki is trying something back, he will utilize his kills to his own opponent.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's completely worth it because it was a bit too, but you get a kill in that alley, you also get Alarium, or you get one kill in that alley, you get Alarium ahead as well. He was already kind of doing well enough against Cookie Crook, and this matchup now may become a little bit harder for Cookie Crook. Even if he gets a kill back into his favor, you're still going against Trundle, which is an disadvantageous matchup for you. On the other side of the map, Nocturne doing a really good job just farming up, getting the camps in his favor, and trying to maybe put a bit of pressure in both the mid lane and the bot lane.
Really is doing quite a bit for that here. It's Mirage up 2-1 in this early game. Now going to be Icelandic Hero, finding Chad, going for a little bit too more, and Chad gets caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Going to go down. Sam pulled to safety by Rhino. Beautiful collapse from Ole Miss, but it's not over yet, as Neo and Dardoch are looking to keep this invade going. Going to push Ole Miss outside of their own jungle, and Icelandic Hero, you cannot be up here, my man, as Sunsy is looking for a solo kill.
And even though the play looks great, killing Chad immediately in the side and saving Uncle Sam as well, at the end, Satsi getting a counter kill, really effective to trying and stop any sort of salvaging play for the side of Ole Miss. The game still looking so prominently well for Mirage Alliance, and also the gold lead so much in their favor.
Really, really great stuff there from Mirage. Be able to get themselves another one back. Looked like their punishment was going to come fast and hard for what they were able to get on that invade, but Sudsy does even it up as he gets himself another kill and keeps Icelandic Hero off the map, crucially.
Exactly, not allowing for him to keep himself just moving around, trying to find some place. And it's going to be a really nice move, the fact that they are able to not only take away from Icelandic Hero keeping himself in the map, but because of how some of the kills have gone and how much time he's been dead, he is actually so far behind to the Nocturne right now. Nocturne really close to his level 6, should be able to get it before the Vi is even close to level 6, and that means Paranoia, such a big cooldown, going to be a big factor. Alorim taking such a good trade here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the counter pick. The Trundle really showing up big time there. They got out of lane. They each picked themselves up a kill on that roam towards mid, but in the one-on-one, Olorum and the Trundle remain supreme and are just going to keep taking control over this lane. Kukikrook finally ticking level 6 here, but he is never going to be able to all-in this Trundle.
I don't think he even wants to. That being said, Kukikrook didn't teleport back into the lane. Alorim did. So that means that even if you take a back trade as Kukikrook, you still have the opportunity to come back with a teleport and play around that. Alorim has to be a bit more respectful in that sense, as we see maybe a potential engage attempt here by Rhino as Icelandic Heroes on the side.
Nice stun connects there from Dardoch to stop any potential advances. The all-in the top side. It is Olorum all day long subjugating Kukikrook, and the Troll King takes a one-on-one.
I knew that was bad, but I didn't expect this to be that bad. Oh, really nice, Rhino.
Ooh, fight breaking out now. There's going to be the Paranoia coming out through. Chad going to arrive to the play and going to blow Rhino up as Neo is excited, and Neo wants to let everybody know about it. A double kill coming through for him. Mirage Alliance clap the bottom lane.
Bot lane is doing bad. Kukikrook is trying to run here onto Alorim, but doesn't even get close to getting the kill. I don't even think Alorim needs to be worried about anything. And with that, everything completely falls into disaster for the side of Ole Miss. They don't have a place where they can actually call a win, because they are losing on bot lane, they are losing on top lane, they are losing on mid lane. On the jungle, we don't even need to say anything, because it pretty much shows itself in the map.
All going wrong here. Over the wall, trying something ballsy on the dragon here. Chad gonna get forced away, pulling in Uncle Sam, snagging the dragon. Flash forward from Uncle Sam. He doesn't get Chad, but he'll settle for Dardoch. Will he even get that though? In way too deep. Will give a kill back to Neo.
Is that actually worth it? You get the dragon, and I think that's everything you needed to get, as Dardoch just plays around the hook and Neo gets another kill. It's just value after value for Mirage Alliance. Oh wait, Dardoch?
Ogo trying to take this one-on-one. He's got red and white and keeps things close, but he's down a whole dang level. That makes it very, very tough here. Rhino coming on in, looking for the hook, doesn't find it on a Neo, as here's the Tempered Fate forcing the flash out of Shogo.
Yeah, I would say that's a lose for Shogo. He forces his flash out, he cannot force a bit more down there, and now you still have the potential to make a play as Dardoch with the portal into a play onto Dardoch. This is looking really difficult for the side of Ole Miss. It's not impossible, but there's just so many tools. Oh, Uncle Sam, no.
All right, going to be getting that fear, and that's going to be the chain CC. That's going to be another kill, and oh, there's Olorum on a killing spree in the top lane. He warned us that you need to ban the Trundle if you're going to play the Olaf, and he is showing Kukikrook why.
Yeah, Gordo, I'm beginning to believe 100% why you need to ban the Trundle. Every time we pan it to top lane, it's just a loss for Kukikrook. He barely can do anything up there against the Trundle, and Alorim just showing him that he's the better top laner at the very least with this Trundle.
And there's going to be the knockup coming on through, still forcing plays, getting a turret shot even on towards Sudsy. And Uncle Sam just desperately trying to keep up. Will get that shut down over to Icelandic Hero. No assist, but happy to have the 450 gold anyways. Dardoch going on a magical journey, going to try to peel himself away from Icelandic Hero. We'll be able to slow up that Vi.
It's just a kill onto Satsi, which didn't respect the potential of the buy being close by. Really nice play by Icelandic Hero, collecting another one and trying to keep the gold as close as possible. But it is close to 5,000 gold lead for MA at 10 minutes. That's a big, big diff.
It is a big, big difference to be sure. And 4,000 gold is tough to come back from at 10 minutes. They are going to need to find some miracle team fights. With Olorum having finished off that Trinity Force, he is in full split push mode.
I like that. I think that's the right approach for the Trundle this game. You may join in for 1 or 2 fights eventually, but I think that you need to be that sort of big split pushing force. Oh.
All right. Nearly getting a little bit of an engage onto Neo there in the bottom lane. Angle Barbs connects, but Uncle Sam just doesn't have the damage. Not yet. There's going to be a much better trade found for Sudsy. Rift Herald is onto the map still.
Oh. I realized that Sudsy stopped playing with the SKT Syndra skin, and I think after that he kind of lost out on the mid lane pressure. So I think he needs to go back to that skin if he wants to win.
True.
Well, he's winning, but he needs to go back to it.
It's all about the Faker impression. That's really what levels you up in these kinds of matchups. Kooky Krook, uh-oh. Slowed up by the pillar, and it means he's going to be tanking a couple of big swings of the club from Alorum.
He didn't die. That's a win. It's much better than his previous trades so far, so I feel like Kooky Krook probably takes that.
Yeah, I mean, he's got no choice. He's going to be taking whatever Alorum gives him so far, and there's going to be a level lead, a CS lead, a kill lead, and everything into that troll. That is going to be an easy pickup of the Rift Herald for Chad, if I've ever seen one. They need to send multiple members up here to try to contest it, and they are instead hovering around the bottom lane, trying to catch Neo playing overly aggressive, but he's keeping a safe distance as Alorum just hammers away at the turret. Yeah, there's half HP for Kooky Krook. He's looking for the solo kill, gonna at least trade ultimates, and there's an all-out from Uncle Sam, or onto Uncle Sam from Sudsy. That's gonna force out both solo laners, both going for recalls. Nothing for Ole Miss to be found until they face check Neo here. There's at least gonna be something trying to give the kill to Icelandic hero, and they do.
Yeah, at the very least they get something. Even though they lost the top lane turret, even though they lost the Rift Herald, they find a really good kill onto Neo. I think it was a slight shutdown as well, going in favor of Icelandic hero. So overall, the gold value is completely against you. But you cannot decide what you get. You have to get anything you can at this point of the game, and precisely getting that kill onto Neo is really, really ideal.
Yep, and I think it's going to have to be finding picks with this Thresh. Is over the wall. Here comes Dardang looking to hold down Shogo for Alorum. That's a beautifully placed pillar, and Shogo just barely grabs onto the Dark Passage in time. Now they're going to have to settle for Rhino if they can get him flayed backwards. Where's that pillar? Still on cooldown, and all this, they get out of the play. Super Mega Death Rocket will not connect.
That was all Rhino. He saved the life from Shogo. He played it out so well, pulling away Alarim from the Lantern and able to keep the Philiospore as long alive as possible. Oh, turret.
Ooh, Hook connects out of Rhino. That's going to force the cleanse out of Neo, and now everybody dumping everything into the Jinx. Flash back away, though. Neo finds himself to safety and gets excited. Advancing forward now, the rest of the 4 members of his team are all out in front of him, and he can look to keep on firing out shots. Shogo is back to the play, but blue-white is not a combo, and they are going to be able to back on off. Mirage Alliance, they have to settle for nothing but the turret. Scatter the Weak finds Rhino. There's Kooky Krook stepping forward, going to pop the ultimate, but nearly gets popped himself, and Alorum will finish him off. Trundle stepping forward, gets the double kill, slowing up Shogo. He wants to make it 3. He is going to drop, and Shogo gets a chance to be able to get himself a double kill. It goes on over to Uncle Sam, who is going to drop, and finally Shogo will be able to get one back on a Neo. Ole Miss find an overstep from Mirage and make it a 3 for 3 as Chad is looking to turn the odds around. Shogo flashes forward, can't find his way on towards Sudsy, and Sudsy will finally take him out with one more Dark Sphere. Chad wins the jungle one-on-one, and Mirage take the fight.
They get the fight, they win it out at the end. Mirage Alliance playing probably one of their worst fights because Chad wasn't even close by. He was actually throwing the Rift Herald into the mid lane to try and force some play there. But at the end, it doesn't matter as, oh, yeah, Sudsy's dead. He is completely by himself here.
He gets interrupted, the hook connects, and they're going to give it over to Kooky Krook, getting that Olaf a little bit of a bailout, even though there's no Renata to be seen. They need him to find some money. They need bills on everybody. They need items, and they need a fighting chance in these team fights. And there's so many hungry mouths to feed. It's so hard to find the resources to make it work.
Well, they could get this dragon, they get a bounty out of it, and also they got a couple of shutdowns, importantly, onto Shogo and onto the Nico. So I feel like overall, that's gold value that you have to be able to play around with. They will get this dragon, someone has to respond to the top lane push, but overall, they are finding the right places to try and come back into the game. Unluckily for them though, or maybe luckily, they already get 2 dragons. The soul is going to be the cloud soul, so it's not like they need to put focus onto that dragon. That's not going to be a win condition for them.
Yeah, and you know, we say that they're doing stuff right, and they are. They're doing their best. They're finding fights as best as they can, but they are 7k gold down. They are 4 behind now than they have been all game. And it is not showing any signs of relenting. And I know Lorum is still the biggest problem. He's got this hole breaker. They're going to be making out a fight in the mid lane. It's Shogo who's the target, and Shogo will drop. Chad falls low, and there's nobody left to deal out the damage. It's a double kill to Sudsy. As now they're looking for more. Uncle Sam will get blown up before the Dark Passage completes. Kooky Krook's losing the one-on-one. It's all going wrong for Ole Miss. Mirage Alliance are dominating the map, and they are taking everything in front of them.
Yeah, this game is just so difficult for Ole Miss. They are running the show on the side of Mirage Alliance, and I thought that the paranoia was going to go towards bot lane because I was seeing the 1v1 down there, but it's just forcing onto mid lane. Nobody can stop Chad from just killing the Aphelios, and then perfect positioning on the Tempered Fate to stop the turret from actually killing the target. It just resets the fight really effectively, and they can just keep on running down Ole Miss on the side.
And running down Ole Miss is what they continue to do. So many deaths already. We're at 27 kills in 17 minutes. It doesn't quite compare to game number 2, but it's pretty close. This one even more one-sided in favor of Mirage. Ole Miss, we're finding a couple of punches here and there. Jab here, a hook there, a way to be able to at least be able to compete. Ole Miss have not been able to put that together this game. They are now nearly 10k gold down, and Mirage Alliance look like they can do no wrong.
Yeah, and you have to give credit to Chad for setting up the initial plays to make this work out so well from the bot lane. Oh no, not again.
Another paranoia means another dead Shogo. He is isolated off from the rest of the team, and Chad will complete the killing spree. Tempered Fate connects onto Rhino. There's going to be the pop of the ultimate from Kooky Krook. They get the hook on a Neo, but it's cleansed away, and Olorum has completed the TP. The most dangerous member of Mirage will push the rest away. And Mirage will be happy with just their 1 kill. They can keep this siege going as soon as the next minion wave arrives.
They are not going to stop. He may be the most dangerous. He doesn't get the kill though, but it doesn't really matter because they still have the damage and the members to push through as hard as possible. Although they are coming back, Kooky Krook wants to get something. Doesn't have Ragnarok.
Yeah, they're gonna at least get Dardoch. The hook connects. An Icelandic hero finishes off the kill. My guy, you gotta give these to Shogo. Shogo needs the money so badly, but it goes on over to the Vi.
I also wanna give credit to Chad for how he played the previous engage. Forces the paranoia onto the Thresh, knowing that the Aphelios was going to take the lantern, and just kind of takes the free ride onto the Aphelios and gets the kill really easily after that. That's really nice positioning and really nice understanding of the champion, as Icelandic hero is not going to get spotted here, able to get back with no issue at all, and they just get the Reap Herald for free.
That was like a season 1 Fnatic move right there. They throw down the blue ward in the bush, which is visible from outside the bush to Sudsy. So Sudsy thinks there's nobody in there. Yep. Doesn't go and check and find the recalling Uncle Sam. I mean, that's pretty nifty there. That's like some old school, what was the summoner spell called? Clairvoyance?
Yep. The one that gives you vision from a safe distance, right? Yeah, Clairvoyance. That's an old one.
Yeah, but that was the strat. That was like, for those of you who are, of the younger persuasion, I'll pick this up in a second. Is Alorum is in a 1 versus 3, but this is where he thrives with the hole breaker up, flashing over the wall. He's 1v5. He's done. The hook connects. The shutdown goes to Kooky Krook.
Yeah, I think 1v3 probably playable. 1v5, that's taking a bit too much from the enemy team. And they forced a lot to kill Alarin, but it looks like at the very least, it's not only going to be beneficial for them, but they are going to be able to respond quickly to the plays from the side of Mirage Alliance. The Dragon's going to spawn in 15 seconds, but it's realistically a Cloud Dragon. It's not that big if you give it up. Baron, though,
Baron is pretty big if you give it up, so they are going to have to come on up here and try to respond to this. The lack of Allura is a little bit of a relief. And yeah, Mirage do not want to take this 4v5.
doesn't have teleport either on Alarim, so they cannot just take the initial trade and wait for Alarim to teleport in, because it's going to take quite a while before he gets there. That being said, they do have a little bit of control over the top side. They have a bit of vision as well down there. They are trying to force an Icelandic hero to make the Vi be as scared as possible.
Making the Vi scared is the name of the game. They can keep Icelandic hero on the back foot. They can secure themselves this Baron easily. Rhino going to be the target now, forced to flash away. Hook comes back through, shielded away by Chad. And full control of this quadrant belongs to Mirage.
And funnily enough, Trundle goes back to his ways, immediately pats spot lane and pushes once again the lane. Baron started once again. They do know that members did back away, so I think this is the perfect opportunity to just force the Baron.
Definitely, they are going to be able to start on towards it, and
they're not going there.
Testrum will miss. They're heading towards the Dragon instead. They want at least some kind of objective bounty, but there is a Hullbreaker Trundle waiting for them. They're going to have to work their way through his health bar again. The Baron's going to go down. Uncle Sam sees everybody approaching. Paranoia comes out, and the mid laner has stepped up too far. He's going to pay the price as Chad picks up a rampage. The Dragon will go on down, smited away by Icelandic hero, but Shogo is locked down by the Tempered Fate, and Neo with a position over the wall to rain hell on towards Ole Miss. Rhino cannot get away from Alorum, who will knock him down with the club. And Mirage Alliance have only 2 members left to oppose them as they march towards the base.
They have enough members strong enough to just push the issue. They have an Alarim, which maybe doesn't have the Pirate Hat for the cannon minion, but does have a team full of stronger champions to push onto the base. And I think they can end. They have even the Rift Herald, so they can just
want the Dancing Herald.
Yeah.
They want the Dancing Herald, TDS. They're going to see if they can keep Shelly alive. Kooky Crew coming into the back flank, finding Dardoch. Icelandic hero focuses some punches towards him as well. Shelly is down. The Herald will not dance, but the Paranoia is popped, and it's going to be a cover for Mirage Alliance to escape. They are in a full-on 5-on-5 with well-chunked out health bars and no mana left on that Nocturne. Stun comes through on a Kooky Crew. There's going to be a slow up on towards Sudsy. He has to flash for his life. Uncle Sam taken very low as Kooky Crew approaches from the flank, but there's his counter Alorum there to fend him off. Snare connects on a Rhino. Neo looking to get excited, and he finds it with a killing spree. Advancing forward now with the movement speed buff. Gets tagged by one shot from Shogo, but he wants Icelandic hero. Flashing back away, resetting on towards Uncle Sam. The dive in from Kooky Crew as he'll be able to take him out with the Cataclysm. Alorum fighting through all comers will pick up a double kill in the enemy base. And just like that, it's only Icelandic hero left standing, and Dardoch will find him with the Cosmic Binding. Mirage Alliance 3 versus 0 with a push on the base. This should be it, TDS.
They may kill Neo, they may kill Chad, but it's not going to kill the chances from MA to just take the game. It's going to be the lower bracket still alive for our defending ACL champions, as Rhino is the last tribute for their ensuing onslaught, and it's going to be MA moving forward.
As you said, the reigning champs continue their lower bracket run. 4 series wins in a row to Mirage Alliance.
They're not stopping, and I'm not sure how it's going. Like, I'm honestly believing more and more that MA is going to reach the grand finals. They have been running the show from the lower bracket onwards, and yes, their opponents are going to be quite tough. It's Bitch Cats after this, and then after that, it's the loser of TFT against Winthrop. So it will keep on getting stronger and stronger the longer it goes. But I feel like MA is just really on a tier to try and get everything going, and I'm becoming a believer of Mirage Alliance to repeat it, actually.
It's getting believable. I mean, Mobility had some very strong words about the rest of the teams in this tournament last week when we had him on Friday. By the way, we didn't talk about this too much at the time, but that was a Giga Chat interview from Mobility. It takes a certain kind of confidence to come in and say that that your opponent was overrated, and then later on say that B, your opponent was the second best team in the tournament.
Yep. That was kind of interesting, but hey, they are still alive, so technically speaking, could be true. That still is not a dead narrative. If Pitch Cats reach the grand finals, that still could happen.
True. Yeah, that's gonna be. There's still more games left to play there. Peach Cats gonna have a chance to prove Mobility correct here, though, in just a couple of days, as Mirage Alliance versus Peach Cats will be your lower semifinal. That will be played on this Friday, simultaneously with Team Fish Taco taking on Winthrop in the top bracket. We're going to have to pick one of those games, TDS, and it's going to be a tough choice. So stay tuned for that one. We're working on getting an interview with somebody from Mirage, and it looks like it's our boy. It's our boy, TDS. We pulled Alorum for the third time in a row. Friend of the broadcast, Alorum will be here in just a couple of minutes. We're going to throw it to a quick break while we pull him on in. We will see you in a couple minutes. Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's broadcast of the Aegis Champions League, where we are joined by the victorious Alorum from Mirage Alliance. Alorum, you're officially a friend of the broadcast now. Three appearances earns you that title. Welcome back, my friend.
Yeah, we said that we would do weekly updates every time we win a series, so we're back. It's like a podcast, now it's like a post-match podcast.
No, have I got a proposal for you once we're off stream, my friend? No, that aside, really great performance by you guys tonight. You've taken down Ole Miss. You will be facing Peach Cats, as we now know, in the lower semifinal on Friday. Any thoughts on that matchup in particular that you think coming up against your lane opponent in particular would be Moose Hater? But then, the rest of that squad being made up of, it's going to be Keel, Onat, Wixie, and Isles.
Right. Well, we did lose to, they were our first loss of ACL this year, when we were in the group stage. So we have lost to them before, but it was a 2-1 loss. So it's not without, our victories, and they're full of good players, but they also lost to noobs. So that means, no one is immune to losing to anyone on a single day. So I think we still have it. And Moose Hater, I actually played against someone else the first time around. I played against one of their subs. I think it was Existence Top.
Yeah, Existence.
Yeah. So I didn't get to play against Moose Hater.
We streamed that match.
Yeah.
Good days.
But I know Moose Hater's champ pool is a little goofy. Mine is also a little goofy, but I don't think his in particular is like that strong against mine. I think Red Side is looking pretty good for both of us, since both of us want to do some weird stuff on counterpick. I'm really looking forward to it, because I think that this lower final between us and Peach Cats, or lower semis, is whoever wins that could potentially just win the whole thing. As we as Mirage have been making our losers bracket run since the very first round. It would be really cool for us to just lose the first round 2-0 to like people who aren't even in the tournament anymore, and then just win it all.
And pretty much could be the narrative going forward. And talking about the weird champion pools, because you talked about it with Moose Hater, but more so than the weird champion pools, I'm kind of interested in the Trundle matchup. Like, did you, as soon as you pick it, did you think it was just an auto win? Like, pretty much just completely done there?
Instant lock. Like, they did it in the third draft, is where they banned Trundle. Yeah. That Trundle's not for Chad. That's for me. And so, like, as soon as they showed that, we banned Olaf back, since that's something I really like to play. But as soon as they like locked in Olaf, I don't know if they forgot. I don't know if they were like, nah, it's not that good. Like, he is not gonna do it. But like, of course I did. Instant lock Trundle, easy matchup. Yep. Just run him down the whole lane. I mean, I'll take that matchup every time I can get it.
Yeah, no, looked rough to play for old.
It wasn't fun to look at even.
Lane. Yeah, it definitely didn't look like he was having too good of a time on up there. So now, yeah, I want to talk about your lower bracket run a little bit. We checked in 2 weeks ago, I think now, after the win over Cincinnati Fear. You talked a little bit about, especially after the CCG Futures match, that you guys kind of had to take some time to amp up, that you hadn't been practicing all that much, and that you had it took a little bit to get figured out what you wanted to play. It looked we didn't get to see the match, but it looked very one-sided up against Lotus Exiles, and then you had a couple of real one-sided games today after Ole Miss. Do you guys feel like you've kind of found your groove a little bit more, or have the opponents been getting easier? What's been going on since the first rounds of playoffs that have made you guys look so much stronger?
It's what you said, because we actually haven't practiced at all. Like, I guess the only practice that you could say we've done is like we've been doing like the combines, right? Mm-hmm. So we've all been playing League. We just haven't been doing it together as a 5-man, but we kind of made that decision ourselves. Like, we're okay with just doing our own practice thing going into ACL right now, and just doing the best we can. But what it is that when we lost 2-0 and then we lost that first game, like in our losers bracket, and as soon as we found one win, I don't know, man, it's just rejuvenating. One win is like, you know, our chug jug back to victory. Like, we just got full armor and went straight back into winning again. I don't know. It was magical. You guys, no one was there to see it except for all of us in the comms at that day, but one win was all it took for us to figure out how to win games again.
Yeah, seems like a good choice, especially today, since you pretty much won the first one, so didn't even need to go back into winning ways after losing the first game. Actually, we're able to win from the start. Well, you had that off game, that one game there that was kind of weird. I will say, I think your team kind of threw it onto you. Just saying. I do think that after the start of that game, feels weird that you guys end up losing it, but it's okay. It can happen. One game may be weird here and there, but the rest of the series was really well played. I'm kind of curious, also looking into this particular series, but also future series, because there was the second game where there were the Yasuo Rakan bot lane, and I'm kind of curious how much weird picks are you expecting? Were you expecting from Ole Miss, and how much weird picks are you expecting in general?
I think for this team in particular, they're just like Senna guys, and so as you saw, we banned Senna every single game. Yep. So that's like one quote unquote weird thing. Senna's not super weird, but Shogo really likes it, and he loves just having Senna, plus he'll play anything, Senna, Yasuo especially. And Shogo is a pretty solid Yasuo player too. So even after we're banning the Senna, to him, what I'm imagining, he's like, whatever, let's just pull out the Yasuo. I gotta do it. It wasn't unexpected, but it's something we know he really likes.
Okay.
And so, but the rest of their team, like, they're really standard. Like Cookie Crook, he almost exclusively plays Jax. Their jungler, we know he likes Lee Sin, Wukong, stuff like that. Although we were not expecting the super high Nico Prio for their mid laner, Uncle Sam, because he had played like Orianna Yone the entire tournament. So that was a little bit unexpected, but you know, our boy Sudsy on the 4 games of Syndra, Nico Syndra 4 games in a row. You know, yep. my king for keeping it down there.
I gotta ask because we had mobility on Friday, and he gave us a little bit of BM, a little bit of spiciness on the interview, and it's like a give a mouse a cookie situation. I'm hungry for more now. I gotta rank the 4 remaining teams for me if you could. We got Winthrop University, Peach Cats, Team Fish Taco, and you guys.
Let's see. Us, Peach Cats, Team Fish Taco, Winthrop.
Okay.
All right. Love to hear it. Thank you very much for that, Alorum. That
Yep.
sustains me, and I'm going to be quoting that for the next couple of streams.
I can't wait. No, I mean, you guys keep quoting me. I said I'll give every top lane in their hands, and I have.
You have so far.
Yeah,
You got a
so far,
fantastic
yeah.
playoff run so far. Do want to give you the last word, and not just because you played well. Anybody you want to shout out? Anything you want to say to those who are still tuned in?
Just I keep saying it every week, but shout out to the guys in our losers bracket making it back this whole time. Like, I really wasn't expecting us to be staying in ACL for this whole entire month, but we have. So although our mentals have been quite good, you know, we have not faltered since our days of losing. Ever since we started winning again, it's been great. Who would have thought?
Helps. It always helps.
Perfect
so thank
solution.
you.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us once again, Alora. Always great to check in. Best of luck on this Friday coming in to your match up against Peach Cats. That's going to do it for today's broadcast of the ACL. Remember, we will be back on Friday with another BO5. It'll either be TFT Winthrop or it'll be Mirage Alliance Peach Cats. Still TBD on that. We'll see how scheduling ends up working out for all of those squads. That's going to be doing it for tonight's broadcast. Until then, from myself, TDS, Caddy on production, Coachify, and everybody else here at Aegis, we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time.